Good evening and welcome to Your Home, Your Vote election coverage 2021. There's just 30 minutes left to cast a ballot here in Ontario, but you'll notice some results are already coming in, and that's because polls have closed in the Atlantic provinces. The numbers popping up at the bottom of your screen are a running tally of the seats that parties are leading and winning. And once the polls close here at 9:30, we'll add a second ticker that will show the names of the candidates leading and elected across our area. As we await the results, one thing is already crystal clear. This election is unlike any other, with Canadians heading to the polls in the middle of a pandemic. And on that note, we want to let you know that everyone involved in our election coverage tonight is fully vaccinated. Now, in a few hours, we'll find out if the Liberals and Justin Trudeau will continue to lead us through COVID-19. Adam Atkinson is live for us tonight at the Liberal Party headquarters in Montreal. Good evening to you, Adam.
Hello, Nicole. Yeah, it's pretty quiet here at Justin Trudeau's headquarters here in Montreal, but Justin Trudeau himself is in the building and he's watching the numbers with his family trickle in from across the country. And during this campaign, he really targeted young Canadians, young families, and first-time home buyers. With families, he promised to bring in $10 a day daycare within the first 5 years. And with first-time home buyers, he's promising to build 1.4 million new homes over the next 4 years. And of course, over the last couple of weeks, he's been really telling Canadians that the Liberals are the party that will bring this country out of the pandemic. And time will tell, obviously, if those promises are enough to maintain power. Nicole?
Thank you, Adam. The Conservative leader, Erin O'Toole, will be watching tonight's results in Oshawa, and Kelly Botello is watching the evening unfold there for us tonight. Good evening, Kelly.
Good evening, Nicole. Conservative leader Erin O'Toole spent the last day of his campaign yesterday in cities around Toronto, the 905, and these are some key areas where the Conservatives are hoping to make some gains. The polls leading up to this election have predicted that it's going to be a tight race between the Tories and the Liberals. Conservative spokesperson Corey Hahn says at the beginning of the campaign, when some were predicting a Liberal majority, it would have been a win for the Conservatives to just hold the Liberals to a minority government. But now Hahn says the race is too close and the Tories have a chance to come out ahead of the Liberals, and they want that win. The Conservatives are hoping for a victory speech on this stage tonight. A couple of hundred of supporters are expected to be here in this hockey arena in Oshawa tonight, and O'Toole and his family are currently watching from this arena as well. Back to you.
And Kelly, we have seen NDP leader Jagmeet Singh really appealing to the younger voters through TikTok and other social media platforms. How has Erin O'Toole been able to appeal to the younger generation?
Well, Nicole, Erin O'Toole has said that this Conservative Party isn't your dad's Conservative Party. He has been campaigning and advocating for more mental health supports, as well as a plan to reduce Canada's carbon footprint. So he is trying to get in those younger voters and perhaps appeal to voters who have never considered voting blue before.
That's Kelly Botello in Oshawa. We'll check in with you again shortly. Thank you, Kelly. The leader of the NDP is out on the West Coast. Our Phil Perkins is there, where Jagmeet Singh will be this evening. Phil.
Yeah, good evening, Nicole. Yeah, it's very calm here at the Vancouver Convention Center. Let people know, just as the world turns. It's only just after 6 o'clock in the evening here. People are still lining up at polling stations, so we're not going to get results here for quite some time. The NDP released that Jagmeet Singh is going to be speaking at 10:30. We're expecting around 10:30 p.m. Local time here. It's around 1:30 in the morning in Hamilton time. So that just goes to show, we're going to be here for quite the long haul. Whether we're going to be there for that late at 1:30, we'll see. As we know, a lot of these votes aren't going to be counted until tomorrow. But right now, it's still very calm before the storm here. There are really no supporters or any other local candidates who have flooded the floor in front of the podium. Jagmeet Singh was here about 2 hours ago, just doing a mic check, some lighting check, and some blocking. He seems to be in a very good mood. He did say to some reporters here that he's ready to dance.
What is the goal of the NDP in this election?
Well, the 6 o'clock news, we spoke with an NDP strategist, and really it seems like the theme here, because judging by some of the polls, it looks like that the NDP are dancing. Jagmeet wants to dance. They're kind of dancing firmly in third place right now. And she did say one word that stuck out to me, and that was regain. They want to regain some seats. And as we remember, it wasn't too long ago in 2019, the NDP actually lost 15 seats. And they want to regain some of those. So that seems to be one of the big main goals here. And speaking with supporters who are at one of Jagmeet Singh's stops leading up to today, saying that if they can get as much representation of the NDP in Parliament, that would be seemingly to them as a win.
And that's Phil Perkins in Vancouver. Thank you, Phil. We're also bringing you live coverage from some of the key ridings here in our area, and we're going to start with Hamilton. The leaders made a few stops here with 3 of the 5 ridings considered up for grabs because they are without an incumbent. Matt Ingram joins us live from Hamilton Mountain now with more on this. Matt.
Good evening, Nicole. Yeah, 3 out of 5 are going to have a new face when the dust settles tonight, including right up here on Hamilton Mountain, where incumbent NDP Scott Duval is not seeking re-election. Now, the riding has been NDP since 2006, so the party's tapped Malcolm Allen, a former MP for Niagara Centre, to try and take up the mantle and keep it orange. However, before it was orange, it was red. The Liberals held it from 1988 until 2006, so they think they can retake this riding and have tapped CHCH News reporter Lisa Hefner to try and make that happen. Now, some polling shows that it is leaning towards the NDP, with the Liberals in second and Conservative candidate Al Miles running third. Now, on our way here, we also saw that there was a long line of people waiting at a polling station on Concession Street, so people here on the mountain continue to turn out the vote.
And Matt, what are some of the other Hamilton ridings that you are watching closely tonight?
Well, polling indicates that Hamilton Centre will most likely stay NDP, with Matthew Green keeping his seat, and Hamilton West, Ancaster Dundas is likely to stay Liberal, with Philomena Tassi holding on to hers. But we're watching Flamborough-Glanbrook, where outgoing Conservative MP David Sweet is not running for re-election. His longtime Chief of Staff, Dan Muse, is trying to take his boss's former job. But the Liberals are running a tight race there. Just over the weekend, actually, Erin O'Toole and Justin Trudeau made stops in the area. It is perceived to be very tight. In the last election, David Sweet only won over the Liberals by less than 2,000 votes. So now we have former Hamilton mayoral candidate Vito Scrow trying to win for the Liberals and turn that long Tory riding red.
Matt Ingram reporting in Hamilton tonight. Thank you, Matt. In Halton, we're keeping a watch on a riding where a well-known Liberal who took on a key role during the pandemic is looking to hang on to her seat. Sylvie Lenve is in Burlington, though, for us right now, tonight. Sylvie.
Nicole, we're here in Burlington at the Poacher, where Liberal candidate Karina Gould and her team will be. You can see behind me here, there are already some red signs set up there. Now, she has held this seat since 2015. Before that, the seat was Conservative since 2006. Gould served as the Minister of International Development, and she assisted in organizing support to COVAX to help get vaccines to lower-income countries. Now, last election, about 35,000 people voted for her, and about 24,000 people voted for the Conservative. So that's about 11,000 votes off. Now, this year, the Conservative candidate is Emily Brown. The NDP candidate here in Burlington is Nick Page, running for the first time, Christian Cullis for the Greens, and Michael Bader for the People's Party of Canada. Nicole.
And Sylvie, all of the Halton ridings have Liberal incumbents. Is anyone in jeopardy tonight?
All of them, really, Nicole. As you mentioned there, all 4 Halton ridings do have that Liberal incumbent. Now, there's about a population of 100,000 people per riding here, and each time the Liberals won by between 5,000 and 10,000 votes. For example, over in Oakville, the Liberals beat the Conservative by about 5,000 votes. Here in Burlington by 11,000, Oakville North Burlington by 7,000, and in Milton by about 9,000. But when we talk to voters here and over back in Oakville as well. They're either upset with Justin Trudeau for calling this election, or they say they really quite liked the way that he handled this pandemic. But in all four Halton ridings, it's really a head-to-head race between the Conservatives and the Liberals as well. But there's no really other party that quite matches up. But again, we're looking at results from 2019, and a lot has changed since 2019, Nicole, so anything can happen.
Absolutely. Time will tell tonight. Thank you, Sylvie. In the Niagara region, we're waiting to see if a long-held Tory riding will remain blue. Jason Gaidola is in Niagara Falls for us. Jason.
That's right, Nicole. Here in Niagara Falls has been a Conservative stronghold since 2004. But over the years, particularly around since when the Liberals took office in 2015, support has waned and the races have been tighter, specifically back in 2019 when incumbent, now Conservative Tony Baldinelli, took office. He just edged out Liberal Andrea Kaiser by roughly 3 points, and this time around both of them are going head-to-head for this riding, and who knows, it could be even tighter this time for that seat. So there's been a lot going on between their profiles. You know, they both come from backgrounds from the tourism sector, so they're looking to address those needs in the Niagara region, which is obviously a hot topic all year round, considering what happened during the pandemic.
Thank you so much, Jason. We're now going to take a look at some of the election results we're seeing so far as we focus on key ridings in Atlantic Canada. If you recall, back in 2015, it was a clean sweep for the Liberals on the East Coast. However, some of those seats were lost in 2019 to the Conservatives, NDP, and Greens. Several ridings in particular could be a barometer of what is to come for the rest of the election night. So starting off with Fredericton in New Brunswick, we can see right now that Jenica Atwin, who was the Green Party candidate who crossed lines and went to the Liberals, she is currently the incumbent, but the Conservatives have a slight lead there right now. Going on to the next riding of West Nova in Nova Scotia, it has flipped between Liberal and Conservative since the 60s. In 2019, after the red wave 4 years prior, it went Conservative, and once again we can see it is Conservative tonight. In St. John's, Mount Pearl, this riding in Newfoundland and Labrador has been held by Seamus O'Regan, who was the Liberals' Minister of Natural Resources. He was hoping for his third win tonight, and he got it. He has been the elected candidate here for St. John's South Mount Pearl. In St. John's East, staying in Newfoundland, the only seat the NDP won east of Montreal in the last election was this riding. That was in part because of the personal popularity of Jack Harris. But we can see right now that Joanne Thompson of the Liberal Party has been elected tonight. In Malapec, PEI, Prince Edward Island, the riding has been red since 1988. But longtime Liberal MP Wayne Easter, who has held the seat since 1993, was not seeking re-election. Again, we can see tonight, though, that it has gone red. It is staying Liberal with Heath MacDonald. We'll also bring you analysis from several panelists. Taz is in studio with more on this. Taz.
Good evening, Nicole. And we have assembled a great panel of experts today. To my left, we have political analyst Keith Leslie. In the middle, we have Liviana Tesudi, a poli-sci professor from Brock University. And at the very far end, we have Marvin Ryder from the DeGroote School of Business. Many of you may remember him. Well, Marvin, we'll start with you. We're beginning to see these numbers trickle in from the Atlantic provinces. There was some concern that there would be a blue wave. That does not appear to be the case, at least at this point. How indicative are these results of what we could see across the country?
Well, it actually doesn't come as a surprise. When you looked at the national polls, the Conservatives just were not resonating in Eastern Canada. So I thought the blue wave might start in Quebec, not so much the Atlantic provinces, but Quebec with some tight ridings before. Conservatives have done well there in the past. And remember, in the last days of the campaign, Mr. O'Toole brought out former Prime Minister Brian Mulroney to really appeal to that base. Then we get to Ontario. Clearly, the Tories are looking to do better in the 905 and then get that riding a wave so they can then really clean up in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. So if you're keeping track, expect the Liberals to come out to an early lead, but then watch the Conservatives come roaring back up. All of this is going to be settled in BC.
Okay. Liviana, I want to ask you, is this election a referendum on how well Justin Trudeau has handled the pandemic?
I think it is partly a referendum on how well he's handled the pandemic, but I also think the big question is, are voters sufficiently dissatisfied with his performance to want change? And that's the big question that I'm looking at tonight.
Now, the advanced polling numbers, we've seen them rise by 20% compared to the previous year, hitting a record. Is that an indication they want change?
Well, certainly we've seen that when you have an increase in advanced polling turnout, you're likely to see a small uptick in turnout. Usually when turnout is higher, it indicates a desire for change, but you'd have to see a strong uptick in turnout to see it translate into a complete rejection of the Trudeau government.
All right, Keith, here's a question everyone is asking this time around. Why did we have this election? Why did Justin Trudeau call it? Did he sufficiently answer it, do you think, in the minds of voters?
Absolutely not. Mr. Trudeau had a lot of time to come up with a proper answer for why he's calling an election now. He couldn't say, because I want a majority, but we all know that was the reason. I think the Liberal Brain Trust really thought this would be a 1 or 2 day affair and that the election would move on to more serious issues. But the fact that Mr. Trudeau could never give an adequate answer to that, it's dogged him all the way through. The same reason that Mr. O'Toole, couldn't say why his candidates aren't vaccinated. The same thing. Those two questions dogged them. They thought they would be over within the first week. Here we are at day 36. Those same two issues are still on voters' minds.
Liviana, the polls have showed the Conservatives and the Liberals tied neck and neck. How much stock do you put in those polls, especially when we're talking about a pandemic election?
Absolutely. Well, the pollsters have a mixed record in terms of the accuracy of their estimates turnout. So in 2019, the pollsters did a fairly good job of estimating Conservative and Liberal support, but they overestimated NDP support. But we see other examples, such as in the 2018 Quebec provincial election, where the pollsters got it mostly wrong. So I want to see how well they doing in predicting how close this race is.
Fair enough, an unusual election. Marvin, I do want to ask you about the PPC, the People's Party of Canada. The rise of this party is unlike anything we've ever seen. How much of a spoiler is this party going to be in this election?
Well, I think it could be huge. Let me just be perfectly candid. After the 2019 election, the PPC got about 1% of the vote. I didn't think we'd ever see them again. And honestly, I'm not sure where they're getting the money to do this campaign. But they started at 1%, and the more Justin Trudeau seemed to talk, the more the PPC seemed to gain. So if you can believe the polls, they're up to 6 or 7%. On that ticker you're seeing, I'm not expecting any number to show up beside the PPC, but if they siphon off 7% of Conservative support, they might be more than decisive to allow the Liberals to hold what they had before. We'll have to see if that spreads across the country.
Truly amazing to see that they are holding par with the Bloc and the Greens, this young fledgling party. All right, we have much more to discuss with our expert panelists right now. We will send things back to you, Nicole.
Thank you so much, Taz. And a quick note, we'll also be speaking with several experts and community leaders throughout the evening, including Kojo Damptey, the Executive Director of the Hamilton Centre for Civic Inclusion, and tech and social media expert Amber MacArthur. She'll join us remotely in just a few minutes. And as we head to break with a live look at Liberal Party headquarters in Montreal, a quick and important note for those of you who want to connect with us and weigh in on the results. Just use the hashtag CHCHVote 2021 on various social media platforms. Our Your Home, Your Vote coverage continues right after this break.
You may call us a tad unconventional. A bunch of wonderfully wild and colorful individuals. People who really do give a hoot about animals. Perhaps we are a little extreme, a little out there, or way out there. And yes, we do fuss over every small detail, but that's what makes us, us. Welcome to Uncommon.
Know where your business stands. Get paid more ways. Payments made easy with Intuit QuickBooks.
No one is just one thing, and I love embracing that with fashion. I can be chill, or dog part chill, or the opposite of chill. I love leaning into all sides of me. That's my bae. Okay, I'm ready. Is it?
Only Clear Blue pregnancy test with Weeks Indicator clearly tells you how many weeks. Over 99% accurate. Absolute clarity when you need it most.
Before you leave Canada, protect yourself with travel insurance. Download the Goose Insurance app and get coverage in 60 seconds. And with policies starting at only $4 a day, it's perfect for that day trip.
Don't wing it. Get Goose. Sign up today and cover your tail feathers.
Thursday's date night movie. Anna Kendrick and Rebel Wilson star in the hit musical comedy Pitch Perfect, presented by The Brick. With the wrong mattress, you never really get out of bed. At the Brick Mattress Store, you'll get the right mattress guaranteed.
With over 50 years of experience, the Morris Law Group will help ensure you and your family get the best result possible, so you can concentrate on getting better. Call us for a free, no-obligation consultation.
Shop online with confidence, knowing every Canada Drives car has passed a 150-point inspection and is covered by our 7-day money-back return policy. It's smart, safe, and easy. It's Canada Drives.
Welcome back to Your Home, Your Vote. We're going to take a look now at the number of seats the main parties held before this election. At dissolution, the Liberals had 155 seats, the Tories 119, the NDP 24, the Bloc 32, and the Green 2, with 5 independents. But the magic number everyone will be paying attention to tonight is 170. That's the number of seats needed for a party to form a majority government in Canada's 338-seat House of Commons. If no party reaches 170, then the party with the most seats could form a minority government, which is what the Liberals did in the last election. But will we see a change tonight? Adam Atkinson joins us again from the Liberal headquarters in Montreal. Adam.
That's a very good question, Nicole. And joining me now is Liberal strategist Greg McEachern. And Greg, first of all, this is kind of a loaded question, but why should Canadians vote Trudeau in for a third term?
Pandemic. I think the performance of Justin Trudeau, his government during the last 19 months, I know that there were conversations in governments across Canada in March of 2020. People were worried about breadlines, and we've survived. We've done very well when you compare us to other countries throughout the world. You just have to look at the vaccination rate in the United States right now and where Canada is. So I think just based on that alone is enough to give him a mark to return to government.
And that said, we've seen some pretty ugly scenes throughout the country as he's been campaigning. One person even threw stones at him as he was getting on a campaign bus. What does he have to do to unite the country so there's not so much anger out there?
I think all political leaders have to take a look at who their supporters are and what kind of behavior. If that happened from a Liberal Party supporter, I would not accept it as a member of the party. I would be asking my leader to do something about it. I think it's paramount that every political party has to have that sort of conversation. This is not the way we want to have politics in Canada. It shouldn't be about fear. And I think it's more than just whoever is successful tonight and whoever's Prime Minister. All political leaders need to say this has to stop.
But how does a new leader connect with those people?
It's tough because I think there's a lot of Canadians who feel that you shouldn't connect with them, that their behavior is wrong. If you are threatening politicians, if you're threatening nurses and doctors, I think you know that behavior is wrong. I think that is really the time where the law has to step in. I don't know if it's fair to reason with someone who's holding a rock and threatening you.
All right, great. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Nicole, we'll have a lot more reaction coming up throughout the evening as the numbers trickle in. Back to you.
Thanks, Adam. And as you can see again at the bottom of your screen, some of the numbers are trickling in, leading and elected Liberals 24, Conservatives 9, Bloc Québécois 1. There are just 32 seats in Atlantic Canada, but with such a close election, a few seats could prove to be decisive. Looking at more of those ridings now that have been closed since 7 o'clock. Central Nova, Liberal Sean Fraser is seeking re-election, but before 2015, the Nova Scotia riding had been held by former Conservative Cabinet Minister Peter MacKay, but as we can see, Sean Fraser has been re-elected tonight. In South Shore St. Margaret's, incumbent Bernadette Jordan is hoping to return to Ottawa for the Liberals. She won in 2015, but we can see there is a bit of an upset here for the Liberals. The Conservatives' Rick Perkins has taken this seat tonight. And in Halifax, the riding went red during the wave in 2015, but it had been NDP prior to that since 1997. So this is another riding we are watching closely, where Liberal Andy Fillmore is seeking re-election. No decision there yet, and it's pretty close between the Liberal and the NDP. Well, joining us remotely this evening is tech and social media expert Amber MacArthur. Amber, thank you for being here with us tonight. In this election that so many people said they didn't want, the electorate is turning out 20% more in advanced polls and about a 600,000 increase in mail-in ballots. Has there been a similar increase in the activity on social media and online?
There are absolutely more people on social media, and one of the things that we really have to remember is that because of the pandemic, people are spending more time online. In fact, we know from Stats Canada that the average Canadian says they're spending more time on all social media sites. And what's interesting is this is said by about 75% of Canadians 15 years and older. So we know it's really a combination of all of these factors that are driving people to social media. And I'd take it one step further, also dividing this country.
Have you noticed anything interesting in terms of the leaders' names trending online, especially today?
Absolutely. I had a chance to check in with Twitter, and they gave me a leaderboard in terms of the leaders over this campaign. And what's really interesting is we see, unsurprisingly, at the top of the list, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Then we see Erin O'Toole, a bunch of tweets from these different leaders as well. And when we look back at that leaderboard, you'll also notice that Maxime Bernier is third on that list. And what's really fascinating about that is I learned from Twitter that his followers grew by about 29% during the campaign, and that's compared to an increase of about 8% for Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. So I know on the panel you were just talking about the PBC party, and what we're seeing more and more is that this is also reflected in social media in terms of more support.
What's happening with the online conversation right now as people here in Ontario, I believe, have just a few more minutes left to cast a ballot?
Well, a lot of people are talking about lineups at the polls. Of course, some polls have closed in parts of Eastern Canada. But what I also find interesting is that if you look at the different accounts from the leaders, I had a chance just a little while ago to check in terms of Justin Trudeau's account to see what he was tweeting about. And he was tweeting about all of the different policies, almost still campaigning during this time. As for Erin O'Toole's account, he hadn't tweeted out in quite some time. But I do think it's interesting to look at the different leaders, how they've leveraged the power of social media. And for some of them, like Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, as well as Jagmeet Singh, they've really been on social media almost 24/7.
No kidding. And with Jagmeet Singh, we've already talked a little bit earlier about TikTok. He's been all over that platform for a couple of years now. He really got ahead of it as it was just launching.
Yeah, and this is really worth noting. So maybe it's not going to make a huge difference for this election, but imagine Generation Z. My son is 12 years old, and we know more and more they're going to TikTok and they're following along in terms of what he is tweeting out. Last time I looked, he had about 829,000 followers, almost 8 million likes. So in many ways, he's really courting that next generation, and I think it's something that we can't ignore in terms of him being able to connect with that younger audience.
Well, thank you so much, Amber. We'll connect with you live again throughout the evening.
Thanks so much.
Right now, let's take a look at the Conservative headquarters in Oshawa. This is where Erin O'Toole will be tonight. Kelly Botello is there as well and will join us live right after the break. Stay with us. Your home, your vote continues right after this.
Rings Furniture, your go-to for Canadian-made custom furniture for every room. Looking for sectionals, sofas, and chairs that recline, swivel, or rock? In your choice of fabrics or leathers. Come on into Rins, Niagara Falls, and Caledonia.
Your dry skin story changes. From one day to the next, discover Eucerin Complete Repair Cream, the complete solution for dry skin. It contains urea to bind water to the skin and ceramides to strengthen the skin's natural barrier. For an immediate relief of dry skin that lasts for 48 hours. Eucerin Complete Repair, recommended by dermatologists.
Maureen ordered all this delicious food online from M&M Food Market because she threw a welcome home party for her daughter, who was only gone for 41 minutes. Crazy? Maybe. But they got to enjoy some beef lo mein that was perfectly prepped, portioned, and ready in less than 20 minutes. 4 oodles of convenient and delicious must-have dishes from M&M Food Market. Any reason to celebrate will do.
You may call us a tad unconventional. A bunch of wonderfully wild and colorful individuals. People who really do give a hoot about animals. Perhaps we are a little extreme, a little out there, or way out there. And yes, we do fuss over every small detail, but that's what makes us, us. Welcome to Uncommon.
Maybe the Puffs one. Way off.
A little more to the left.
Fire all four. Bullseye. Cheetos, dangerously cheesy.
Just because it's getting cold outside doesn't mean you have to catch one. To help prevent colds, Emergency Immune Plus gives you a blend of essential nutrients, vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc. So you can help prevent colds all season long with Emergency Immune Plus.
Rin's Custom Furniture for every room and budget. At Rin's, you can order your sofas, chairs, and sectionals with firmer or softer seating. Just one of the benefits of buying Canadian made from Rin's Furniture in Niagara Falls and Caledonia.
Welcome back to Your Home, Your Vote. The polls are now closed in Ontario and across much of the country, and we should start to see some of the results trickle in within the next half hour. Elections Canada says almost 6.8 million people cast their votes early, most of them at advanced polls, with preliminary figures showing that some 5.7 million electors voted over a week ago. That's an 18% increase from the 2019 general election. The rest of the early votes were through special ballots cast by mail or at Elections Canada offices. So we've seen some results from Atlantic Canada, and with more numbers coming in, we're going to connect with Kelly Botello, who's at the Conservative Party headquarters in Oshawa. Kelly, any reaction there to the numbers so far?
Not yet, Nicole. It is still pretty quiet here at Conservative leader Erin O'Toole's headquarters. We're in a hockey arena, and 48-year-old O'Toole is here as well, watching the results come in with his wife and children. I'm joined now by Conservative strategist Ginny Roth. What are the key ridings Conservatives are watching?
I think they're watching regions. So, I mean, we're in Oshawa right now. The broader GTA is going to be a real, all the ridings around Toronto is going to be a real riding area to watch for the Conservatives. If they can pick up some key seats in like Richmond Hill, for example, seats that they lost only by a little bit the last time around, that'll be really good news for them. So we'll have to wait until after 9:30 for those results to come in. But so far, things are looking good in Atlantic Canada. The Conservatives are doing a bit better than expected.
And do you expect that'll be those breakthrough areas? Where will they be?
I think in Atlantic Canada, we're seeing pickups in Cumberland and a seat in Newfoundland that was unexpected. It looks like the Liberals even lost one of their own cabinet ministers, so that's significant. The Conservatives are overperforming. As we move into Quebec and watch the Quebec ridings, I'm looking to see how the Bloc performs, because that will be bad news for the Liberals. And then in Ontario, that's really where we're going to, I think, see who's going to form government.
What were some of O'Toole's strengths during this campaign, and what were some of his downfalls?
I mean, he ran a really competent, well-run campaign, and I think one of his biggest strengths was getting a platform out early. So he got his plan out to Canadians on basically day one, day two, day three of the campaign. Meanwhile, Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister, couldn't explain why he'd called the election. And so, you know, friends of mine who are out knocking on doors, getting the vote out for the Conservatives, they're hearing people saying, why are we even having this election? It's expensive, it was unnecessary, and by coming out with a plan, Erin O'Toole kind of had a positive message for all those people that were wondering why they even had the election in the first place. So I think that was strong.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Nicole, lots to watch here from the Conservative headquarters tonight. Back to you.
Absolutely, Kelly, thank you. And again, just a quick note at the bottom of your screen here, you can see the Conservatives are leading or elected in 11 ridings, and a note that in Atlantic Canada in the 2019 election, they gained only 4 seats. So already they're seeing a couple increases here tonight. Niagara Falls is a long-held riding for the Conservatives since 2004. That's nearly 20 years. Jason Gaidola is live there for us tonight. Jason.
That's right, Nicole. Incumbent Tony Baldinelli is heading into another election, seeking to hold on to that spot that's been such a stronghold for so long, but that support has waned over the years as the Liberals have gained some considerable ground, especially since they took office in 2015. They're going to go neck and neck for this riding. So this riding is a reflection of what you're seeing on a national scale right now. And you saw it when Liberal leader Justin Trudeau made a visit here at the end of his campaign trail, similar to Erin O'Toole. So they really believe that seats can be won here. And Baldinelli, again, they're going to be using tourism and tourism recovery as their angle to try to sway as many voters as possible, because ever since the pandemic has really hit many industries hard, especially the tourism industry, that is going to be top of mind heading into the end of the night and beyond.
Jason, when we look at the Niagara region, what are some of the issues that all of the candidates are focusing on in Niagara?
Well, climate action is another talking point all across Niagara, and you've seen it in St. Catharines, where incumbent Liberal Chris Biddle looking to hold on to his seat in St. Catharines. He's a former Minister of Transport, former Minister of the Environment. So, how are they going to tackle climate that affects the Niagara agricultural industry, which also ties into the tourism industry as well. So the Liberals are looking to gain those seats in St. Catharines, looking to hold on there. Vance Badaway in Niagara Centre, which is Thorold, Welland, and Port Colborne, also looking to hold on to that spot. And Ian Bingham is also looking to steal the spot from incumbent Dean Allison all the way out in Niagara West. So the agricultural industry is another hot topic. Affordable housing is also another one that gets addressed here in the region. So there's plenty of issues, plenty going on, and it should be quite tight all across the board here in Niagara.
And
Nicole?
we've definitely seen those topics within the platforms of all the parties. Thank you, Jason. Taking a look at a few more key ridings in Atlantic Canada. Let's see some of the results that are already coming in so far. Over in PEI, incumbent Bobby Morrissey is looking to keep the Liberal seat for the riding of Egmont, and as you can see, he has taken this riding. In Cape Breton-Canso, it has gone Liberal for almost a decade. Mike Callaway has remained. The incumbent has kept his seat tonight. In Sydney, Victoria, incumbent Liberal Jamie Battiste won the riding in the last election, becoming the first Mi'kmaq member of Parliament. And as you can see, he has been re-elected. Over to Taz now to talk more about the leaders and strategy. Taz.
Let's talk about some of the strategies they were forced to adopt during the campaign, Nicole, and we'll start with Keith. As Adam referenced during his live hit, during the protests, Justin Trudeau was dogged by protesters, some of them even throwing gravel. Were you surprised that this took such a dirty tone in this campaign?
Well, people are really, really angry. I mean, and the angry people seem to gravitate to the next level of, I don't want to say lunatic fringe, but they got so mad they started throwing stones at the Prime Minister. That's taking protests beyond the normal level in Canada. And I think in some ways it drove people to support Mr. Trudeau. In other times I thought that the Liberals sort of waded into these. They could have moved their event to somewhere else quickly, and they didn't. I've seen the Conservatives do that in previous campaigns when there's protests. You just quickly adjust. The Liberals seem not to adjust, as if they were kind of, they knew they were getting momentum from these protests. But the protesters themselves, they just went too far, and when they started going to hospitals, they lost the plot completely, and I think people are just fed up with that nonsense. And that's why Mr. Trudeau is actually getting more support than we expected at the end of the campaign, when it seemed to be so tight. It looks this evening like the Liberals are making the gains, and the Conservatives are making some very small ones so far, but it looks like the Liberals are indeed headed for that minority.
Liviana, Justin Trudeau tried to demonize O'Toole in the campaign, as many Liberal leaders have done in the past. Was he successful?
I think he was successful in raising some doubts about the extent to which O'Toole is a true centrist. Mr. O'Toole tried to change his position from being a true blue Tory, which was he campaigned on during his leadership campaign, and is trying to move the party more to the centre. And I think Mr. Trudeau was effective in raising enough doubts about whether Mr. O'Toole really has changed his spots.
I want to pick up on what you're saying and throw things over to Marvin. O'Toole talked about this not being your dad's Conservative Party and trying to present a more compassionate Conservative party. Was he successful, and did he, in doing so, alienate some of his base support?
So to answer that question, let me just tie back to something Keith said.
Sure.
On one hand, this election is a bit of a referendum on Justin Trudeau's leadership. familiarity over the last year and a half really did breed contempt. He was on doing a news conference every day with COVID, and we're tired of COVID. I thought O'Toole could come out and really carve out a space for himself, but instead he kept muddying the water. He would announce something and then he seemed to backtrack from it. For instance, is he going to ban those assault weapons? At one moment, oh yes, we're going to rip up that assault. Well, now we're going to do this. Well, what about the carbon taxes? Oh, I'm going to ban, well, maybe I'm not going to ban them. Maybe I'm going to talk to the provinces. And if he had just sort of picked a path and stayed on it, I think he actually would have come out better ahead. Trudeau didn't really have to go after O'Toole. O'Toole shot himself in the foot a few times just by not having a clear, consistent message.
By saying it was not your dad's Conservative Party, what he's saying is it's not Stephen Harper's Conservative Party. Yes. I'm different. And he even brought Brian Mulroney out to speak at one rally, right? So he's really trying to differentiate himself from Stephen Harper.
And from Andrew Scheer and his stances on LGBTQ.
But to your question, the base is more of a Harper-Scheer base. And that's, if he doesn't produce tonight, he's going to have some trouble within his own caucus.
Liviana, let's talk about Anna May Paul, because she was initially seen as a threat to the NDP and to the Liberals. Where did things go wrong for her?
Well, unfortunately for Ms. Paul, the internal strife within her party really damaged her ability to run an effective national campaign. The other thing that perhaps went wrong for Ms. Paul is that all the other parties picked up on the climate change message. They all have climate change promises in their platforms, so the Greens become less distinguished from the other parties on that key issue.
So with the Greens, some would say imploding, who stood to benefit from this? Keith, let's start with you.
Well, I would think mostly it would be the New Democrats who would benefit from the Greens imploding, but of course some of them may go Conservative. A lot of the Green supporters are small business people that just have an environmental concern. So we're not really sure where they're going to go, but I don't think there was that much Green support to be divided up, especially after they imploded. I mean, it was just ridiculous what they did to their leader, and she's forced to run a campaign essentially in Toronto, out of Toronto, and I don't know how they expect to win any seats other than if they're lucky, those two in BC.
All right, thank you so much. We're going to hear lots more from our panelists and hear their insights in just moments. Right now, we'll send things back over to Nicole.
Thank you so much, Taz. Kojo Damte, the executive director of the Hamilton Center for Civic Inclusion, is joining us virtually tonight. Kojo, it is great to see you. During the campaign, your center led roundtables focusing on systemic racism, poverty, and disability rights. You invited all candidates in the area to take part. Can you tell us about the discussion and what the candidates had to say?
Yes, so we had a roundtable with a number of organizations, the Hamilton Roundtable for Poverty Reduction, Disability Justice Network of Ontario, the City of Hamilton, and the discussion centered around hate crimes. It also centered around Indigenous issues, missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, land rights, specifically 1492 land back, and environmental claims by various Indigenous nations and communities, and also a discussion around affordable housing for renters and issues facing folks with disabilities, particularly the MAID legislation.
Did all of the candidates show up to hear you and have this discussion?
Not all candidates showed up. I think there were a number of candidates that had prior engagement, so they couldn't show up.
Kojo, in this election, do you feel that any of the federal party leaders have been centering reconciliation and the issues of systemic racism in Canada?
I would say no. If we take the issue of land rights, particularly 1492, which is close to what we call Hamilton, I didn't hear any of the candidates talk about it. I know they did talk about water advisories, but again, the Indigenous issues go way beyond that, and I don't think they spent enough time talking about it. And also issues related to systemic racism, police brutality that we are seeing in marginalized communities, and missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls.
And even with housing being a consistent topic in the election, have the parties spoke to or are prepared to properly address the houselessness around the country and in Hamilton specifically?
I do not think so. I mean, all the political parties talked about building affordable housing. They did not define affordable housing. And here in Hamilton, look, today at JC Beamer Park, there was an encampment tear down, and some of the solutions that they talked about will not provide immediate, I repeat, immediate housing for folks here in Hamilton and across the country. We saw in Toronto and Halifax, the issue of encampments is something that the federal government, provincial and municipal government need to start focusing on, because this is an issue about now.
Kojo, how are you feeling about this election and along with the Center for Civic Inclusion?
I think the discussion, you can tell that there is very discomfort with everybody, right? We're living in a global pandemic that Ontario Health did a research and found out that racialized populations were infected between 1.2 to 7.1 fold. And so we haven't actually discussed what a just recovery would look like. Here in Hamilton, a number of community organizations have talked about a just recovery that focuses on investing in women, disability justice, mobility justice, investing in decent jobs, decent wages, investing in green infrastructure, tackling systemic racism, housing as a human right, and supporting us LGBTQIA+ communities. And I don't think any of those things were discussed in detail. And so we'll wait to see who wins, and our commitment is to work with
There's certainly issues that need to be addressed by whatever party forms the next government. That's Kojo Damte, the Executive Director of Hamilton Center for Civic Inclusion. Thank you, Kojo.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the election coverage.
Oh, you know we will. Thank you, Kojo. We're going to take a quick break now, and when we come back, we'll check in with another local riding, this time in Burlington. Stay with us. Your home, your vote continues.
Eggs for a snack?
Yeah, they're quick.
That's weird.
It's not weird. You're weird. You never asked for help.
Eggs for a snack isn't weird. You're weird for thinking it's weird.
Your dry skin story changes. From one day to the next, discover Eucerin Complete Repair Cream, the complete solution for dry skin. It contains urea to bind water to the skin and ceramides to strengthen the skin's natural barrier. For an immediate relief of dry skin that lasts for 48 hours. Eucerin Complete Repair, recommended by dermatologists.
Okay, I'm ready. Only Clear Blue pregnancy test with weeks indicator clearly tells you how many weeks. Over 99% accurate. Absolute clarity when you need it most.
Ronald McDonald House isn't just a place to stay near the hospital.
Need some water?
My grandma. It's a place for families to stay together.
Monster Jam is returning to Hamilton. Mash the throttle, gun it to chch.com and enter to win 4 front row tickets. This is your chance to experience the most adrenaline-fueled, action-packed motorsports event on 4 wheels. Deadline is September 27th.
Niagara's must-see landmark attraction, the Niagara Parks Power Station, is now open. Explore the Cathedral of Power, named one of the Globe and Mail's best new things to see and do in Canada this year. And at night, Currents, Niagara's Power Transformed, a spectacular sight and sound night experience inside the power station. Visit niagaraparks.com/power to learn more and buy tickets.
We've got 15 seconds to cover the ingredients of this flour bar. Dates, peanuts, sea salt. Oh, that's it. Time for final relaxation. Flour bar, simpler than you think.
Welcome back to our special Your Home, Your Vote election coverage. Back to Phil right now and the NDP in Vancouver. Phil, how are things going there tonight?
Well, again, Nicole, as we mentioned before, just because of the time difference in all polls here, still have an hour before they are closed. And here in the Jagmeet Singh camp in downtown Vancouver, the Vancouver Convention Center, still very quiet. It might remain that way because a lot of the COVID restrictions, it could be mainly really just be Jagmeet, his team, and a bunch of reporters, including. You're not really a reporter, Sally Hauser. You're kind of playing on both sides right now. You're political strategist as well as kind of helping us out here as an analyst. Obviously, it's right now it's the Liberals and the Conservatives. A lot of the polls out east are closed now. We're getting some results. So where right now the NDP not showing much results right now. Where are those seats going to come from?
Well, I think now is when kind of the floodgates open in terms of Quebec and Ontario and some of those really, really kind of big seats, and I believe Alberta as well. So certainly Ontario looking to pick up some seats there, including in Hamilton. So I mean, you know, the Atlantic provinces, that's about kind of where we would have expected to be at this point. Interesting to see the Liberals lose a few seats to the Conservatives. I think that kind of early on for that's got to be making the Liberal team a little bit nervous. But yeah, now is when kind of things explode in terms of the polls closing. So Northern Ontario, downtown Toronto, suburban Toronto, Hamilton, all these places are where they're, you know, obviously the 905, that Toronto area, Southern Ontario, always up for grabs. All the teams are always kind of competing over it. And so a lot of that will be kind of the proof in the pudding. But the NDP has run a really strong campaign in Ontario and definitely looking to see that pay off here this evening.
And Jagmeet does seem to be somewhat unmatched when it comes to his social media, especially on one platform in TikTok. We've talked about it a bunch already in our broadcast. How important is that for him to be just a presence that's always there?
Well, I mean, it's important for that election, and it's about, you know, kind of, it's almost like a virtual doorstep, TikTok, and meeting people where they're at. But that's important for this current election, but it's also important for growth. And that's what we're really trying to see from the NDP this election, is that kind of growth in this campaign, but also growth for the future. You saw a really aggressive campaign going to those ridings that we didn't hold, you know, really strong candidates in some ridings where we haven't been traditionally super strong. So it's about this election, but it's also about kind of that building the NDP brand and Jagmeet's brand for the future.
Yeah, you were saying before, your teenage daughter who's not yet eligible to vote.
Yeah, she's 14 years old, and really her and her friends, the only kind of politicians they can really name are Jagmeet and some other New Democrats who have been on TikTok. So that's a really interesting thing for the future and what that might hold.
I now have to get on TikTok. Got to work on my brand. All right, Sally, thank you very much. Nicole, send it back to you.
Phil, before I let you go, we're seeing the NDP are leading or elected in 7 ridings right now. Recently, within the last few days, Jagmeet Singh has been quoted as saying that he may support a conservative minority. So I don't know if you have the strategist still there, but is it what he is anticipating, or is there still hope for a Liberal minority or an NDP minority, pardon me?
Okay, so actually, no, sorry, you can just stick right here. Nicole was just asking here, saying that Jagmeet has said before that they're willing, once this is all done, work with a conservative government. I believe she's mentioning it there. What is the compatibility with those two, if that were to work out?
You know, I think what the goal for the NDP will be, and you know, who knows what the result will end up tonight. Minority, majority, it's looking like a minority one way or the other. What you'll see from the NDP and from Jagmeet Singh is what he was doing in the last parliament, where we didn't really need an election because you had the NDP really pushing to get those results for people, and you'll find the same thing happening whatever the makeup of the parliament is this time around too.
All right, cool. Sally, thank you very much. That's true. Jagmeet Singh, you take a lot of credit for a lot of the pandemic-related spending that did take place, and the upping, the amount paid to people who may have been very much affected by the pandemic employment-wise. All right, thank you very much, Sally. We do appreciate yet again. We may talk to you again. We'll let you know. But yes, Nicole, hope those are the answers you wanted. Send it back to you.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks so much, Phil. Our Queen's Park producer, Randy Rath, is with us tonight to talk more about what this election means for Ontario. Randy, throughout this federal campaign, Premier Doug Ford has really stood on the sidelines. Do you think that was a good strategy for him and for the federal Conservatives?
Well, hi, Nicole. Absolutely, I think it was a good strategy for Mr. Ford. I don't know. I don't think so much so for the federal Conservatives. The last thing Mr. Ford wants really is to have a Conservative government in Ottawa. He would much sooner fight the election that's coming in Ontario on June 2nd against Justin Trudeau than against the leader of the Ontario Liberal Party, Stephen Del Duca, who most people don't even know who he is. He's going to continue to pretend that Mr. Del Duca doesn't exist.
Are there any federal promises to Ontario that are at risk with the results of this election?
Well, even though Ontario didn't sign on to the $10 a day daycare, if Mr. O'Toole wins, that's out the window, as would be any hope of pharmacare. And although Mr. O'Toole has said that he would support rail transit, being the LRT in Hamilton,
yes.
That's an election promise, and who knows what will actually happen, whereas we know that the federal Liberals are on board to build the LRT.
And we did have a chance to ask Jagmeet Singh. He is still on board with the LRT as well. But considering the current polls predicting a minority for either the Liberals or Conservatives, how do you think these results will affect federal relations with Premier Ford?
I don't think they'll affect it a lot, really. Mr. Ford has been very, very good at dealing with it with the federal Liberals, and if it was a federal Conservative Party, it would be the same thing. Mr. Ford has to deal with the federal government as the federal government has to deal with the Ontario government. So I don't really see a lot of change in the relationship, regardless of who's going to be the next Prime Minister.
And that's our CHCH Queen's Park producer, Randy Rath. Thank you, Randy. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
And to Hamilton Mountain now, Matt Ingram joins us live again with more from that riding. Matt.
Good evening, Nicole. I'm outside a polling station that's now closed, but just after 8, there was a long line of people here, a theme that we're seeing in many ridings across Canada as Canadians had to line up to vote today. Now, I just checked the Elections Canada website, and so far we're not seeing any results for any of the 5 Hamilton ridings, but we will be checking back. Now, let's talk about a riding we haven't talked about tonight. That's Hamilton East Stony Creek. That one's a close one between the Liberals and the NDP, and it's expected that it will be almost a toss-up. Bob Bratina, the former mayor of Hamilton, held that riding, but he's not running for re-election. So longtime city councillor Chad Collins is stepping in for the Liberals to try and keep that riding red. Now for the NDP, a labor lawyer named Nick Milanovic is running again. He ran in the last election and he is expected to run close. Now these close elections are something to consider, especially given the fact that a lot of Canadians used mail-in voting this year, because those votes won't be counted until tomorrow. So in races like Hamilton East Stony Creek, which may turn out to be very close, it's possible we won't get a result right tonight. Nicole.
Thank you, Matt. And just before we head to break, taking a look again at the bottom of your screen, you will see some numbers starting to trickle in now because the polls have been closed for almost a half an hour. The magic number all the parties are looking for, 170. That's to form a majority government. We're going to take a quick break right now. We're going to leave you with a shot from the NDP headquarters. Your home, your vote. We'll be back right after this.
I just do what I do. You see me? I just do what I do. I just do what I do. I don't know about you. I just do what I do. Check. I just do what I do.
Cracker Barrel. Now this is cheese.
You may call us a tad unconventional. A bunch of wonderfully wild and colorful individuals. People who really do give a hoot about animals. Perhaps we are a little extreme, a little out there, or way out there. And yes, we do fuss over every small detail, but that's what makes us, us. Welcome to Uncommon.
Everyone's excited about Post's Timbits cereal. Try Timbits birthday cake and chocolate glazed flavored cereals.
What? It's assorted.
Enjoy the taste of Timbits in a bowl.
So I was thinking that today we would...
Mom, I haven't had my Tims yet.
Wake up to new Tim Hortons Cafe Mocha flavored cereal from Post. The taste of Tim Hortons, now in a bowl.
Just because it's getting cold outside
doesn't mean you have to catch one. To help prevent colds, Emergency Immune Plus gives you a blend of essential nutrients, vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc. So you can help prevent colds all season long with Emergency Immune Plus.
You date like you aren't 22 anymore. And that's a good thing. Because dating as a fully formed, emotionally mature human, man, that's on a whole other level. Match. Start for free. 18+.
At JackpotCity.net, we know how to build you the best casino. So you can do amazing things with just one chip. Our table games are honed to perfection. We have over 500 online slot games, all designed for excitement, including the world-renowned progressive jackpot slot Mega Moolah. Play for free at JackpotCity.net today on your tablet, laptop, or mobile. JackpotCity.net. Casino games perfectly made for you.
Welcome back to Your Home, Your Vote. And polls are now closed across Canada. The numbers popping up at the bottom of your screen are a running tally of the seats that parties are leading and winning, and a second ticker will appear showing the names of the candidates leading and elected across our area. That's once the results start coming in. The leader of the NDP is on the West Coast. Our Phil Perkins is there, where Jagmeet Singh will be this evening. Phil.
Good evening, Nicole. Well, the polls here, as you mentioned, in British Columbia has now wrapped up all the polling stations across the country. And as you mentioned before in our last interview with Sally Hauser, the NDP strategist, that the NDP are leading the way in 7 of their ridings. We're taking a look at a live map right now, and a lot of those are obviously taking a look from east to west, or northern Quebec and Ontario as well. And so the main thing here, as Sally Hauser was saying, it's all about regaining those seats. Remember, they lost 15 in 2019, and they want to regain those. And she said, really, not only in Ontario and Quebec, but there are parts of the prairies as well that the NDP could try to battle it out there as well. And of course, here in British Columbia, we went over outside Vancouver City Hall, where Jagmeet Singh was making the rounds, pounding the pavement throughout Metro Vancouver, and he had some serious support from people down there, and down I mean by downtown Vancouver. And as we mentioned before, many times now, people are just wanting to get as much representation as possible in Parliament, whether it is looking like right now either minority Liberal or minority Conservative government. And Jagmeet Singh has said, according to Hauser as well, he said publicly that they're going to be working with whoever is in government. It looks like it's going to be a minority one, and to push them to give Canadians what they want. And as we mentioned before, Jagmeet giving a lot of credit to himself for a lot of the enhanced measures throughout this pandemic, now reaching almost 2 years now, and increasing those measures for Canadians who were the hardest hit by this virus.
Phil Perkins, thank you. The Conservative leader Erin O'Toole will be watching tonight's results in Ontario, and Kelly Botello is watching the evening unfold there for us. Kelly.
Nicole, as you said earlier, this is an election unlike we have ever seen before during a pandemic, and Conservative leader Erin O'Toole is the only major party leader not to require his candidates be fully vaxxed, an issue that Liberal leader Justin Trudeau liked to take aim at during his campaign. I'm joined now by Conservative strategist Jason Leader. Jason, do you think O'Toole not requiring his candidates to be fully vaxxed hurt him?
Listen, the encouraging results here we're seeing tonight, we won't know till the end of the night what helped or hurt. I will say this, I think Mr. Trudeau made a very conscious decision to sort of divide Canadians and make a fight of this. A lot of name calling. I was really disappointed in it, I think we need somebody to bring us together. It probably cost Mr. O'Toole a couple of points because I think he stuck to his guns, which is I'm not going to step into the health matters of my candidates or any Canadian, and I think he developed a plan. Very tough issue and a very, very divisive sort of issue during a pandemic.
What are the key Conservative promises relating to the pandemic that you think resonated with Canadians?
I think some help for business, help for people, and I think a childcare plan that had a lot of flexibility in it. So when you think about how we're going to rebuild here, I think it's sort of jobs, and I think you didn't hear a lot about that over the course of the campaign. Mr. O'Toole tried to sort of say some somebody's got to have a plan. I've got a plan for the recovery, and I think some of those policies really helped. And I also think putting out his platform essentially on day one, I think a lot of people were surprised by that. I think that really helped him do well and gain some standing in the first couple weeks of the campaign.
Looking at the results so far, how are you feeling?
Very encouraging. I mean, better in Atlantic Canada. You remember a couple of elections ago, Mr. Trudeau steamrolled, going every single seat in Atlantic Canada. Well, I think we won 8 or 9 in Atlantic Canada today. We're holding in Quebec. Ontario's the big show. Whether or not we win 30 seats or 50 seats in Ontario, that's going to determine who wins this campaign. So the next half hour, the next 45 minutes, that's when the results are really going to matter.
Jason, thank you very much. I appreciate it. O'Toole is here with his family, his wife, and his 2 children. We're in a hockey arena in Oshawa. They're watching up above the results come in, and supporters are also starting to trickle in tonight. Back to you, Nicole.
And the results are coming in. Thank you, Kelly. The Liberals, as you can see, are leading and elected in 84 ridings so far. Adam Atkinson is live for us tonight at the Liberal Party headquarters in Montreal. Adam.
Thanks, Nicole. Because of COVID-19 spacing, pandemic spacing, it's still pretty quiet in here right now. But joining me is Liberal strategist Amanda Alvaro. Tell me how you see things unfolding tonight here.
Well, I mean, so far, kind of as predicted, right? We saw Atlantic Canada come in. It was predicted that the Liberal Party would take the majority of Atlantic Canada. It has. Now we're in vote-rich Ontario and Quebec, and those polls are coming in, but still too early to tell. If I was a betting person, and I'm not, but if I was, I think we're heading toward a Liberal minority.
I think if we're watching at home, people should get comfortable and dig in for a long night.
It's going to be a very long night. Heard the Liberal leader will be speaking quite late, past midnight. Heard the NDP leader is speaking even later than that. So everybody should pull out their popcorn and get their blankets ready if they want to see the final results. It could be as late tonight. It could be tomorrow.
Now, there's quite a divide in this country, and I think the Conservatives have been trying to cash in on that divide, trying to wrangle in that anti-Trudeau crowd. What is up with that? Why is there such a divide between provinces?
I think that there is some divides, but I think that there's a lot more that unites the country than divides us. I think that the country, and we'll see tonight if I'm right, but I think the country is looking for things like mandatory vaccinations. I think they're looking for a plan for healthcare to get us through the rest of the pandemic and on the other side. I think childcare, which became a big issue at the latter part of the election, matters a lot to Canadian families, no matter where you live. Climate change, housing, those are issues that matter in PEI and they matter in British Columbia. And we'll see tonight whether or not the Liberals were able to convince Canadians that they have the plan to make that happen.
Going forward, if he does win, will he be able to make good on any of those promises to those all those people across the country?
Yeah, I mean, the point of the election really was to get a really strong mandate to move forward. I think that he'll be looking for, the progressives to come together on some of the issues that we know are really important to Canadians, like $10 a day childcare, making sure they can roll that out, like affordable housing, like healthcare. So in many cases, they'll be looking to the NDP in particular to join forces to make some of those really values-driven policies come to life. They're capable of doing it. They did it in the last mandate. They can certainly do it again.
All right, Amanda, thank you very much for your time. And as I mentioned, Nicole, it is pretty quiet in here right now, but as the numbers come in, it is guaranteed to pick up, and we'll be right here with more reaction. Back to you.
Absolutely. Adam, thank you for letting us know it could be a long night. Again, Liberal leader Justin Trudeau expected to speak after midnight tonight. But right now, let's start taking a look at some of the local ridings, who's leading, who's elected. Again, the numbers are just starting to come in. You can see only 42 votes counted for Matthew Green at this time. The NDP is the incumbent for Hamilton Centre. Margaret Bennett, the Liberal, close behind there. But again, these are just the start of the votes to be counted as polls closed just 30 minutes ago. In Stoney Creek, we're looking here. No votes have been counted at this time. 0 of 197 reporting. But again, Hamilton East, Stoney Creek, there's no incumbent for this riding. Chad Collins is the Liberal. Bob Pacina is not seeking re-election. He was the Liberal for this riding. Hamilton Mountain, Lisa Hefner, you can see the votes are just starting to come in as well. 2 of 155 reporting. Liberal Lisa Hefner is in the lead at the moment with Al Miles shortly behind. Hamilton West, Ancaster Dundas. The incumbent, Philomena Tassi, is currently up, but again, only 7 of 251 reporting. Moving along now to Flamborough Glanbrook. No votes have been counted here. They are being counted by hand tonight, so it is going to take some time. But again, Vito Scrow and Dan Muse there. Burlington now, we're moving into Halton. The incumbent, Karina Gold, has most of the votes at this time, but again, only 5 of 244 reporting at this time. But moving on to Oakville, North Burlington, Pam Damoff is the Liberal incumbent. No votes to be counted there, but we are following this riding carefully. In Oakville, this is Anita Anand. She's a high-profile cabinet minister, the Minister of Procurement, seeking re-election here. No votes counted at this time. In Milton, Adam Van Kouvert in a major upset in 2019 for MP Lisa Raitt. At that time, the Conservative Adam Van Kouvert for the Liberals is seeking re-election, but again, no votes counted. Going on to Halton Hills, this has long been a Conservative riding. Michael Chong seeking re-election, but once again, we're waiting for those votes. Over to the Niagara region, Niagara Centre, Vance Badaway is seeking re-election for the Liberals and right now is in the lead with 15 of 222 reporting. In Niagara Falls, this is the riding that Jason Gaidola has been covering extensively for us tonight. Tony Baldinelli is seeking re-election after his win in 2019. But again, it was a close call with Andrea Kaiser. We're following this one as well. Only 4 of 245 reporting. Niagara West, this has been a Conservative stronghold. Dean Allison is seeking re-election. He is the incumbent. But Ian Bingham, you can see, as 10 of 192 are reporting, they are pretty close at this time. And St. Catharines. This is incumbent Liberal Chris Biddle's riding, but at this time right now, with only 3 of 231 reporting, Christina Whaler for the Conservatives is slightly ahead. Haldimand Norfolk, there's no incumbent here. Conservative Diane Finley is not seeking re-election. Leslyn Lewis, you can see up on the board, only 1 of 262 reporting, but Leslyn Lewis was in contention for the federal leader race for the Conservatives and came in third. She moved her family to Dunnville to run in this race. Brantford Brant, once again, no incumbent, but a Conservative stronghold. 1 of 242 reporting right now, swaying Liberal to Allison McDonald. We are going to take a quick break and leave you with a live look at the Conservative headquarters in Oshawa. We'll be back with Your Home, Your Vote next.
Buying a car? When you go to omvic.ca, it's like getting a free ride. Because all the best car buying information is there, and it's free. Find out about your rights as a car buyer and get some great tips. Knowing your rights starts with the right information. It costs nothing to be informed, so go to omvic.ca. Omvic.ca. It's your free ride to your new ride.
So we just spent a fortune on a new home spa, and we're wondering if we should increase our coverage. We might even need extra liability.
Cannonball!
Scott, I'm trying to talk insurance here.
Not getting the insurance advice you need? Switch to Desjardins and get a Desjardins agent who gets to know you and what you really need.
It's 1981 and John Bear opens a GM dealership in Hamilton, Ontario. It's been an awesome 40 years and we've made some great friends along the way. Selling GM vehicles, servicing our customers, and supporting the community we live in. Some things will never change. And while we're proud of our first 40 years, we're even more excited about the future. Chevrolet, Buick, GMC truck, Hummer, and Cadillac. It isn't just exciting, it's electrifying.
Tommy John is for men who value themselves and their comfort, who want fabrics that are lightweight, breathable, and insanely soft, with stay-put waistbands that adapt for the perfect fit. 360-degree stretch prevents ride-up and supports any move you make, and mind-blowing innovations like our Quick Draw Fly. We've also reinvented loungewear. Yeah, loungewear. You can trust our thousands of 5-star reviews because Tommy John knows how comfortable you want to be. Go to TommyJohn.ca for 20% off your first order.
What started out as a better floor liner for your car turned into even more superior ways to protect the inside and outside of your vehicle. That led to enhanced ways to protect your home and to keep your pets safe. Next came the best ways to secure and protect your phone. At WeatherTech, innovation never stops. The ultimate protection, WeatherTech.ca.
Welcome back to Your Home, Your Vote. In Halton, we're keeping a watch on several ridings. The Liberals are currently the incumbent for all 4 Halton ridings. And right now, Sylvie Lenve is in Burlington with more on this. Sylvie.
Nicole, we're here at the Poacher in Burlington, and we're just waiting for Liberal candidate Karina Gould to show up. You can see behind us here some Liberal signs set up. We're hearing she's going to spend the night with her supporters, and votes are rolling in. As you were mentioning earlier, so far she has most of the votes, 51%. Gould served as the Minister of International Development, and she has held this seat since 2015, so she will be here. So hopefully we'll be able to ask her what she's been hearing from Burlington voters. What we've been hearing from Burlington voters, that the most important issues to them are climate change, the economy, and the pandemic. Now, we're also going to be scooting over to Oakville, where Liberal candidate Anita Anand, who, as you mentioned as well, is quite the high-profile cabinet minister. So she's trying to hold on to her seat there. But of course, watch out for those Conservatives, because all 4 of these Halton ridings, which were red, it's quite the tight race here in Halton.
Thank you, Sylvie. And again, to our viewers at home, you'll notice that ticker has been added to the bottom of your screen. It is showing the local candidates that are either leading or elected in our local ridings. But joining us remotely again this evening is tech and social media expert Amber MacArthur. Amber, it's great to have you with us again. What's happening with the online conversation right now? Are people watching and weighing in on this vote?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people are watching and weighing in, and a lot of people are encouraging people who are still in lines at polling stations to stay in lines. I pulled a couple of tweets. The first tweet I wanted to talk about, got to the polling station. There were about 30 people in the lineup ahead of me. I was still back out in 10 minutes. Full disclosure, this is my cousin Brett in Vancouver, and I've been messaging with him in terms of the lineups that he's been experiencing. And we also have people tweeting in terms of really still talking about issues and policies. We have Nahid Dosani here talking about the fact that he believes in climate change, vaccines save lives. So we see these themes coming up over and over again. And I think it's worth noting that people are still out there talking about the election, and it just feels, at least on Twitter, and I think watching you live here, it's going to be a long night.
Absolutely. Amber, the other party leaders repeatedly attacked Trudeau on his decision to call this election in the middle of a 4th wave. How often was his decision part of the election discussion online?
Well, it absolutely was part of the election discussion online, especially in the early days. But I do think it's worth noting that in those early days, the dialogue kind of changed. The Conservative Party had tweeted out this Willy Wonka video with the Prime Minister. It soon got taken down because of a copyright infringement. And so what we saw in the early days in terms of the Twitter narrative was really how messy and ugly the fight became. So although people were, of course, talking about the fact that they didn't think the election should be called during the pandemic. We've all talked a lot about that. I do think over the past week, that's less and less a topic of conversation, and more we do hear people talking about issues.
And even going back during the campaign, it was messy, it was ugly at some of the Liberal rallies that were held in some of his events. Anti-vaxxers, anti-maskers using social media this election to organize. How are they able to do so?
Yeah, I mean, it has been a very ugly election in that sense, especially with the rise of misinformation and disinformation. We're seeing this more and more in terms of people mobilizing and coming together. As far as some of those protesters who would go out and follow Justin Trudeau around in terms of his different campaign stops, they started to use an app called Telegram. This is an encrypted messaging app. And one of the things that drove them to this is they left some of the more public social networks like Facebook, where everybody could see what was going on, including the media, and they went to more of these private messaging apps really to hide what they knew about where he might go next, and also that being part of their organizing strategy. This is a disturbing trend. You know, although we have just had a few weeks of this, you can only imagine in the future how this is going to continue. And I do think in terms of that fight, as far as misinformation and disinformation, we have to remember this is how these social networks are built. You know, they thrive on this.
And this is what I was going to ask you next. We're talking about, this is new to Canadian politics, but party leaders talked about fighting misinformation and online hate during the campaign. Is this something that they can control? Are there any other examples from other countries that have done so successfully?
it's really difficult to control. And we see this almost as being like a pandemic on top of a pandemic. We see people tweeting about this all the time on social media, talking about the fact, like I mentioned, that these social platforms are really optimized to promote a lot of this fake news and extreme views. I do also think it's worth noting that in the U.S., Twitter introduced something in August that allowed people to pick if they saw a misleading tweet that perhaps had health information that was false. You could actually report that on Twitter. We still don't have that functionality in Canada. So I do feel as we are a bit behind on that front, and at some point we're going to need more government intervention.
Amber, keep tracking what's going on online for us. We'll be checking in with you again throughout the evening. Thank you again for joining us.
Thanks so much.
And checking some of the other ridings as the results are slowly starting to come in. We're going to start with Oxford Woodstock tonight. This is a Conservative riding. Dave McKenzie seeking re-election, 2 of 254 reportings. We're still waiting on that one. Over to Cambridge right now. And Cambridge, the incumbent, Brian May, is seeking re-election. Connie Cody is the Conservative candidate, and right now 3 of 222 reporting. She has a very slight lead there in this riding. In Guelph, this has been Liberal for over 20 years. Lloyd Longfield seeking re-election as the incumbent and is currently in the lead. And over to Kitchener Centre. Once again, this is one of the ridings with some controversy. Raj Saini has been dropped by the Liberal candidate after accusations from some of his former staffers. And they're accusations he denies, but once again, there is no Liberal candidate for this riding right now. The Green, Mike Morris. This is a big step for the Greens right here. They're right now leading in 1 of 216 reporting at the moment. Green Mike Morris for Kitchener Centre at this time. Kitchener-Conestoga, we're seeing the incumbent, Tim Lewis, but once again, there's no votes to be tallied there at this time, so we're going to keep an eye on that one. Over in Waterloo, 0 of 196 reporting, and you can see across the board, NDP, Conservative, and Liberal all vying for a spot tonight. In Waterloo, the incumbent, the Liberal seeking re-election, but again, there are no votes at this time, so we will keep an eye on all of these ridings in our area and beyond. We're going to check in with our panel, though, again right now. Taz.
All right, thank you, Nicole. Now, normally by this time of the night, we see more of the numbers start to trickle in vote-rich Ontario and Quebec. That has not been the case this year. Again, this is a pandemic election. I'm going to send things over to Marvin Ryder and ask you. You attribute this slight delay to the long lineups and pandemic protocols.
Yeah, so earlier tonight we said that the polls were going to close at 9:30. That assumed there wasn't a lineup. If there's a lineup, you keep the poll open until you've cleared all that backlog as you go. So I know we're coming up to the first hour, but some of these people may have only been counting ballots for 35 minutes. So I think this is what's got it slow. And then the other thing is that the votes that you are seeing, those primarily are from advance polls. So those people tend to be election workers. They're not exactly indicative of what we're going to see. So I'd say give us another 30 minutes. We may have a better sense of where Ontario and Quebec are going.
And at that point, numbers start to come in fast and furious. Liviana, we had talked about this being a big election issue. We're talking about housing, trying to get rental costs down, dealing with the pandemic, the environment. What were some of the big issues to you and the ones that resonated most with viewers and voters?
I think the ones that resonated with the voters are certainly housing affordability across the country. All of the parties came out with ideas about increasing supply and putting some limits or taxes on foreign buyers. Climate change was another one that was an issue. All of the parties have their own plans for tackling climate change. Some are more stringent than others. And I think the underlying issue was, should this election have been called in the first place? And there was a lot of anger, I think, about whether it should have been called. Right. So I think those are the three big issues that stuck out to me.
Keith, last month we saw the inflation rate hit 4.1%, the highest it had been in 2 decades, I believe. We didn't hear any of the main party leaders address that in any way. Did that surprise you?
Well, it did in a sense, but I think the worst reaction of all was Mr. Trudeau at one point when he said, you know, I don't care about monetary policy. I don't follow that.
That's true. That
just played right into the thoughts that so many people have about Mr. Trudeau and his government, that he just doesn't concern himself with some things, that Liberals, you know, spend what it spend, cost what it costs, and they don't really care about the long-term impact of all that spending. So when he said that, I thought it was a real hurtful thing. I thought absolutely that helped Mr. O'Toole. People started looking to consider him, you know, is he prime ministerial? Does his policies, you know, he has an economic policy. He even has a carbon policy, as confusing as it is. So I think that's when people took a really good, strong look at Mr. O'Toole. But in the end, it came down to the election versus vaccination, and I think in the end, people were as angry as they are about the election being called in a pandemic. They're even angrier at Mr. O'Toole for not having his candidates vaccinated.
Oliviana, O'Toole was the leader who introduced or plans to introduce the GST holiday in December. Did that come off as being too gimmicky, or did people attach themselves to that?
Right. I don't see that as something that would be a big idea that would really distinguish the Conservatives from the other party or make people motivated to vote for the Conservatives. So I think part of the Conservative problem may be that by moving to the centre, they became less distinguishable from the Liberals. And at the same time, by moving to the centre, they leave open space for the far right of the Conservative spectrum in Canada to siphon votes off the Conservatives. So O'Toole was in a tough strategic position.
Let's move on to the NDP, Marvin, because this was a leader who promised to tax the ultra-rich, but there is a limit to how much you can tax the super-rich. Is his plan viable?
So let me just say it a little differently. There's actually a limit to how many super rich people we have. There are only 65 billionaires who live in Canada. Now, yes, by all means, let's make sure they're paying their fair share. But if you had this idea in your head that there's 1,000 or 10,000 of them, there is just a limit. And of course, unfortunately or fortunately, if you're super wealthy, you also have access to wonderful people called accountants and lawyers who can comb through everything and find every last little nook and cranny to squirrel away some dollars. It's a nice thing. It's a bit like the tax holiday in December. It's a nice thing to say, but I don't think in and of itself it is the way forward. The more interesting one was not taxing the super rich, but taxing the rich corporations. And this has already been discussed across many nations, that we have somebody like an Amazon or we have somebody like a Facebook who picks and chooses where they're going to have the head office in the world to minimize the tax that they pay. Look, that's not right. And the world's nations are collaborating right now on a way to get them to pay tax to the communities where they generate their revenue. It's not done yet. Whoever gets elected tonight, that's going to be something you're going to see in the next year or two.
Oliviana, we're still seeing votes come in from Quebec, from Ontario. We've yet to hit the prairies where we will see more Conservative wins. But from what you've seen right now, are you confident that we're talking about a minority Liberal government, or at least a minority government?
Okay. I think I'm confident we're talking about a minority government, and from what I've seen of the very early returns in Ontario and Quebec, and I want to caution, they're very early, the Liberals seem to be holding the public support that they had in 2019 in Ontario. A little bit of softening, but it looks like it may be enough for them to hold most of the Ontario seats they want to hold on to.
So, Keith, how worried should Mr. O'Toole be tonight?
Very. I think Jason Leader and the other people in Mr. O'Toole's camp tonight are looking at these numbers and seeing, especially the ones from Ontario, they're very early, but right now, if they hold up, there is no path to victory for Mr. O'Toole and Conservatives, given the numbers we're seeing right now. The Liberals are so far out ahead in Ontario, and in Ontario and Quebec, the Bloc and the Liberals are even right now. They seem to be splitting. Quebec only a couple of Conservative seats, so that means the Liberals will have the majority, or the majority of the seats. I don't know if they'll have the absolute 170, but they're certainly headed for a Liberal victory, I think.
I think we can all agree it's going to be a long night. All right, let's send things back to Nicole and see where she takes us.
It certainly will be. Thanks so much, Taz. As we head to another break, we'll look again at the Liberal headquarters in Montreal. That's where Adam Atkinson is tonight. We'll have more from him and other reporters out in local ridings. Your home, your vote. We'll be back right after this break.
Meet the all-new, all-digital Hudson's Bay MasterCard powered by Neo. Get double the points when you shop the Bay, plus get points everywhere else. And instant cash back at Neo partners nationwide. Get rewarded your way at your Bay.
The magic is calling you to the Walt Disney World 50th Anniversary Celebration, beginning October 1st.
Refreshed TD Aeroplan Visa Infinite card has benefits you can share with those who matter most. TD, ready to help you move forward.
Eggs for a snack?
Yeah, they're quick.
That's weird.
It's not weird. You're weird. You never asked for help.
Eggs for a snack isn't weird. You're weird for thinking it's weird.
Something's disappeared from the world. And it's us. So now's the time to not just see nature again, but to feel it in our souls.
Wow, that's a low price. Oh, that's a low price.
Oh, that is a low price.
What's a low price?
Oh, that's a low price. Can you let me shop? That's a low price.
I'm kind of kidding.
At Amazon, anytime is a good time to save.
I see you eyeing up my dinner. You want a bite? Ha! You sort of poisoned it. No, it's my ready-to-cook meal from Good Food. That flavor just blew me away.
Good Food. Get meal kits and groceries at makegoodfood.ca.
And welcome back to Your Home, Your Vote. We're going to take a look now at some of the local ridings as numbers are coming in. Looking at Hamilton Center, 7 of 194 reporting, but incumbent NDP Matthew Green is currently in the lead for this seat. Over at Hamilton East, Stony Creek, Nick Milinovich is in the lead just slightly over Liberal Chad Collins. There's no incumbent for this riding. It is up for grabs. The numbers are still coming in. Hamilton West, Ancaster Dundas. This is the Liberal incumbent. The former Minister of Labor, Philomena Tassi, is currently in the lead here of 15 of 251 reporting. Flamborough Glanbrook, again, no incumbent. It's 3 of 5 ridings in Hamilton without one tonight. Dan Muse, the former chief of staff for David Sweet, who held the riding for many years, is currently in the lead slightly over Liberal Vito Scro. Burlington now heading into the Halton ridings. Karina Gould is in the lead substantially at this point in Burlington, 20 of 244 reporting. She was the youngest cabinet minister ever in Canada's history. Oakville, North Burlington, Pam Damoff is the Liberal incumbent. Again, there are no votes counted at this time. It's all being done by hand, so it is taking a little bit longer. And as the panel has mentioned, it's a slow going at some of the polling stations today. In Oakville, with 20 of 255 reporting right now, incumbent Anita Anand is in the lead. This is a high-profile cabinet minister for Justin Trudeau, for the Minister of Procurement, responsible for getting a number of vaccines to our country during this pandemic. Over in Milton, I believe is next. Milton, this again was a big upset in 2019 for the Conservatives. It went red to Adam Van Couverden, the gold medalist Olympian. At this point, no votes have been counted. And Wellington Halton Hills, the final riding in Halton, once again leading Conservative Michael Chong. He's held this riding for a number of years. To the Niagara region now in Niagara Centre with 23 of 222 reporting. Vance Badaway is in a slight lead over Melissa McGlashlin, the Liberal incumbent, seeking to have his seat again in Ottawa. For Niagara Falls, this has been a Conservative stronghold, neck and neck right now with 25 of 245 reporting. Tony Baldinelli looking to keep his seat, but Andrea Kaiser, again, close riding in 2019, is looking close again tonight. To Niagara West, this has been a Conservative stronghold with Dean Allison seeking re-election, again in the lead right now with 20 of 192 reporting. St. Catharines, Chris Biddle seeking re-election, and it is neck and neck there as well with the Conservatives looking to take over this riding. Christina Whaler with 295 votes at this time, only 10 of 231 reporting there. Haldimand Norfolk with no incumbent. Diane Finley has retired. Leslyn Lewis is in the lead at this time for the Conservatives in Haldimand Norfolk. And Brantford Brant, once again, another riding with no incumbent, but this had been Conservative. But we can see right now with only 5 of 242 reporting, it's still a very close race as the numbers keep coming in. It's too early to call, but Alison McDonald for the Liberals is in the lead. Well, this just in from the CHCH decision desk. We're making a call. It is a Liberal government. At this time, it's too early to say whether it will be a Liberal minority or majority, but once again, it will be a Liberal government for 2021. With more on this, we're going right away to Montreal to the Liberal headquarters with Adam Atkinson, who joins us live. Adam, have they heard the news there? How are they feeling tonight?
Yeah, they've heard the news. It's still surprisingly quiet here, but the news is just trickling through this room right now. And joining me now is Elliott Hughes, a former advisor for the Liberals. And Elliott, first of all, this is obviously big news for Justin Trudeau.
It is, but look, it's still early. The numbers will jump around a little bit. We were quietly confident throughout the evening and throughout the campaign, but there's still a lot of votes to be counted. BC just closed, so we'll see where it goes, but obviously a good news, but a little too early to be too happy yet.
That said, though, this is significantly earlier than we thought we'd be hearing any kind of outcome.
It is, but again, the numbers may jump around. We'll see where things land. Positive news for sure, but look, Justin Trudeau made a very strong case to Canadians the last couple of days, talking about cost of living, talking about childcare, talking about housing. These issues resonated with voters, and we see that they're resonating with voters in Quebec and Ontario. Let's see how they resonate with the rest of Canada.
What do you think the main issue was, the main push that Trudeau put forward that got him this win?
I think it was, frankly, around vaccines. I think that stuck with people. I think the campaign heard it coast to coast to coast. And you had those folks who were trailing the Prime Minister's tour. Some pretty tough language, some vitriol directed at Justin Trudeau in the campaign. And by positioning himself alongside those who believed in the science, who believed in the vaccines, who believed in the importance of both of those to try and get the country back on track, that resonated with Canadians, or at least it appears to be. Again, a little too early to get too excited, but certainly looks like it's paying off at this moment.
Now, I've heard from others it was those protests and those insults and the rock throwing that kind of really gave Trudeau a boost going into the last couple of weeks of this.
We know he's a competitive guy, and when you start to have folks coming after you like that, it I think puts a little bit of a fire in your belly. And particularly with Justin Trudeau, he likes that competition. He likes to be pushed a little bit. Unfortunately, it was over a really important issue that didn't really need to be politicized by some of those folks, but there you go. That's what campaigns are, and I think he took advantage of that, and he looks to be doing that across the country right now.
All right, now taking a guess, when do you think we'll find out whether or not it's going to be a minority or a majority government?
Are you trying to end the night early here? You're really putting me on the spot. I don't know. I'm going to be honest. I don't know. We'll see how things go. Obviously, BC has a lot of seats. We felt as though the party was competitive there, but it's still too early to say. So hopefully this evening. How about that?
All right. Thank you very much, Elliott.
Thank you.
All right, Nicole, regardless of what happens tonight, what time it happens, we will be here and we will have reaction from Liberal headquarters and hopefully Justin Trudeau very soon. Back to you.
We all have strict bedtimes, Adam, we know. Thank you, Adam. All right, let's send things over to Taz with some reaction from the panel now, Taz.
All right, thank you, Nicole. And just to reiterate, our CHCH election desk has called this a Liberal government. It's still too early to call whether it is a majority or minority. And with that, let's bring in Keith to get your thoughts on this. Is a Liberal victory in any form a defeat for the Conservatives?
Well, I know the Conservatives started talking today about perhaps, if they can hold Justin Trudeau to a minority, that's a victory for them. I think that's trying to, manage expectations really well. This has got to be a big disappointment for them. A lot of voters made it very clear they didn't think Justin Trudeau deserved re-election. But when they came down and they took a good close look at Aaron O'Toole, they realized if he's not going to lead on the vaccine of his own candidates, he can't lead us out of the fourth wave of COVID. So I think it really came down to that. Not a big surprise, but people were angry at Trudeau. And to see him come back, I think a lot of people feel he does not deserve a majority. So we'll have to see if he gets that at the end of the night.
Liviana, what are your thoughts? Do you agree with Keith?
Absolutely. I do think that it is a defeat for the Conservatives, but I would slightly disagree with Keith in that I think that the Conservatives should be happy if they're able to hold the Liberals to a minority. After all, Justin Trudeau called this election because he wanted a majority mandate to pursue his post-pandemic agenda. So if the Conservatives are able to hold the Liberals to a minority, it's a partial victory. Perhaps not what they wanted, but it's not a complete defeat.
And Marvin, if you're looking at the bottom of our screen, we are calling one Green candidate elected or leading. Is that a surprise to you? Would you have expected more? And let's talk about the NDPs as well, because they were hoping to regain some of those seats from the last election. How are things looking at this point?
Well, let's start with the Green. The Green is a surprise. In fact, where it is even, that's in the riding that we had a Liberal candidate, a high-profile Liberal candidate who had to resign. And so although he's still on the ballot technically, he stopped campaigning. And the surprise, I thought the Conservatives would roll in, or maybe the NDP, to see the Green step up. I think that's very interesting. Clearly a vote for change in that riding. A couple numbers I'd like to remind people about. 155 for the Liberals, that's where they started the evening, 145 now. Conservatives started with roughly 120, they're at 116. Bottom line, this isn't much of a change in the election at all. For Justin, the closer he gets to 170, the easier it's going to be for him to govern with just one party needing to support him. If he had to have the NDP and the Bloc, say he gets stuck at 145, you add the NDP, he doesn't get to the magic 170 number. So he's going to be looking for those kind of numbers. To the people at large, we've almost got everybody there. If my quick math says we've got about 308 of 338 ridings reporting, so we've still got BC. But if you're thinking, oh, well, Marvin, you're forgetting about the big wave in Alberta and the big wave in Saskatchewan, that's already in there. So in many ways, this doesn't look that much different. Earlier, somebody suggested this was an election about nothing, and it turns out the results may be about nothing, too.
$620 million later.
Right.
All right. Let's send things back over to Nicole. She has more issues to discuss.
Yes, Taz, it's something that was discussed within some party platforms and completely left out in another. Islamophobia has been on the rise in Canada. Hussein Hamdani joins us virtually now. Hussein is a Hamilton Muslim spokesperson. Hussein, how are you feeling with the result? A Liberal government, not clear yet if it will be a minority or a majority.
Yeah, no, we're very happy. When I look at all the platforms of all the parties, it seemed to me and to many people in my community that the Liberals had more to offer with respect to combating hate and Islamophobia. Nicole, I think your viewers should know, like, more Muslims have died in Canada because of Islamophobia than in any other country in the G7 in the last 5-6 years. And so this is a real threat to our community. And so we're pleased that the parties that seem to have taken it most seriously seem to be in positions of power.
Well, that's such a devastating statistic that you just provided there for us, Hussein. And can you talk a little bit about the Conservative platform? Do you believe this had any impact, the fact that it was left out of their platform, on their results tonight?
Yeah, well, the word Islamophobia and not even the word racism appeared at all in the Conservative platform at all. And then I think that played a part in the 905, the GTAH area, where a lot of people come from different parts of the world. Multiculturalism is apparent. And you know, Lisa Raitt said it in 2019 that she felt that she lost and the Conservatives lost because because they weren't inclusive of all Canadians. And I'm not sure if they learned their lesson this time around either, the Conservatives.
Hussein, we look at the last terrorist attack in London and the devastating impact that has had on the community. That was under Justin Trudeau while he was the Prime Minister. What first steps do you feel Justin Trudeau needs to take to confront this hatred and fear in our country?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is we have to stop talking about it and we have to start getting real actions. There's been a summit on Islamophobia. The studies have been made, but now it's time to take concrete, actual steps. Enough talking. We need to deal with online hate. We need to deal with eradicating racism in Canada, and it's high time. Like I said, like you mentioned, 4 people were just going for a walk in London, Ontario, and they were mowed down simply because of their faith, and that's not the Canada any one of us wants to live in.
It's unthinkable, but it did happen, and we must remember that. Thank you so much, Hussein Hamdani. Thank you for your time tonight.
Hey, thanks, Nicole. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, too. And to Kelly Botello right now, who is at the Conservative Party headquarters in Oshawa tonight. Kelly, have you heard about the CHCH decision desk calling a Liberal government? Not clear yet if it will be a minority or a majority. How's the mood there now?
Yes, Nicole, we have heard, everyone in here has heard as well. We've got the monitors up behind us. There are a few supporters here. They are starting to make their way here to this hockey arena in Oshawa, but not very many people here. And of course, not looking good for Conservative leader Erin O'Toole, as CHCH has called a Liberal government. I am joined now by supporter and volunteer Colin Blatcher. How are you feeling? Liberal government, too early to tell whether it'll be a minority or a majority, but how are you feeling about this?
It's obviously not what I was hoping for. I was hoping for the Conservative majority government, but I'm still optimistic that it's going to be a Liberal minority, and maybe we'll be back sooner than we think.
Right. And Colin, what were the main issues that led you to vote for O'Toole's Conservatives?
There was a couple of them, but by far the biggest for me was housing. I just finished university. I remember when Trudeau won back in 2015, and he promised to make stuff better for young people. It got a lot of us excited, and now I just finished, and it seems like I'll never be able to afford a house. It seems like there's just no optimism in that field, and that's what really matters to me. And I read the Conservative platform, and that's what got me excited, and that's what made me vote for them and support Erin.
And this election obviously is very much about who will lead us out of this pandemic. Why did you think that Erin O'Toole was the right person for that?
Well, actually, I initially thought, Justin Trudeau did a relatively good job in the election, but I thought that in the pandemic, but I thought calling this election when he did, I thought it showed that he didn't actually care very much about us, very much about the ramifications that we knew it caused, having people go to door to door, obviously having huge events. And I just saw that as someone who wasn't responsible enough to take us out of this. And I think also Trudeau has shown that he doesn't really care about fiscal responsibility, and he doesn't care about us in the future, and he just cares about winning now. And I am genuinely concerned about myself for the future, for 2 years and 10 years from now, and I saw Erin as the guy to lead us out of that.
Okay, Colin, lots of very valid concerns there. And Nicole, obviously, Conservative supporters not happy at all with the call of the Liberal government. And O'Toole is also here at this hockey arena. We can't see him from where we are, but he is watching the results come in with his family. Back to you, Nicole.
Thank you, Kelly. Some promising news for Conservative Tony Baldinelli in Niagara Falls. It is a tight race, though, between the Tory and Liberal candidate. Jason Guidola is there for us with Tony, I believe. Jason.
That's right, Nicole. Again, incumbent Tony Baldinelli with us right now. Again, we've just seen that the Conservatives, the Liberals have declared a win, but there's still a lot of ground to be covered here, and it's still quite early. So what gains are there to be made here in Niagara Falls?
Well, right now, as you said, Jason, it's quite early here in our own local riding. So, only 30 to 40 polls are coming in showing. So a lot of time for the results to come in and waiting for those with our excited team from all the work that we put in. And now it's up to the people and up to the count, and we look forward to the results coming in.
Where do you think the gains were made throughout this whole campaign on your end?
Well, you know what? From our side, our Conservative Party, we put out a platform from day one, talking to Canadians about a strategic plan, a Canada recovery plan built on 5 pillars, right? This government went into an election campaign with no real plan, other than just wanting to get a majority government. And what it's proven out here now, it looks like they're going to get a minority government. They have failed to secure that majority, and they failed.
Now here in Niagara Falls, or even across the Niagara region, there's been a lot of talk about the People's Party of Canada taking away votership from the Conservative. How much of an impact do you believe that they had on your campaign or any other Conservative?
Well, what's unique? In our past campaign in 2019, we had an independent candidate running as well, and he garnered himself about 5,000 votes, and the PPC about 1,000 votes there. So it's a little different this time. So we'll see how that kind of is taken into account. So, we've had that experience before, and so we'll see how it all comes out in the end.
Okay, well, we'll definitely be watching. Again, joining us is incumbent Conservative Tony Baldinelli here at the Spice Lounge at the Hilton Hotel. I'll throw it back to you, Nicole.
Thank you so much, Jason. That's Jason Guidola live in Niagara Falls. Queen's Park producer Randy Rath joins us now again. Randy, first I just want to get your reaction to hearing that it's once again a Liberal government. We don't know yet if it will be a minority or a majority. Just your reaction to that.
I don't find that hugely surprising. We've always wondered why Justin called this election, and it seems to me to be a colossal waste of $600 million.
Speaking about another party we have been discussing, the PPC, the People's Party of Canada, do you see anything in the rise of the People's Party federally that could have provincial implications?
Well, I think that what the rise of the PPC shows us is that the right is fragmenting in this country, and it's splitting into hard right and center right. And Mr. Ford is courting the center right, and it'll be interesting to see if he will move his policy further to the right to try to appeal to this roughly 20% of conservatives who are supporting the PPC. It'll be interesting to see if the PPC doesn't have to have had electoral success to be emboldened, and if they're emboldened because they have garnered so much attention, they may try to form a provincial party or get in on the new blue party or something like that, and that could have serious implications for Mr. Ford in the next election.
It is something to be said with the PPC having 1.6% support in 2019 to over 7% in this election. So that is something to look out for. But Randy, with this decision of a Liberal government, we know that Premier Ford is holding back on going back to Queen's Park, and until I believe the first week of October, because he was waiting to see who was going to be leading this country. What types of things will he be discussing with his cabinet ahead of the return?
Oh, they're going to have to decide whether they will go further with vaccine mandates. They're going to be discussing all sorts of social issues, what's going on in the schools. We're going to have to really watch the fourth wave to see if it gets worse, that we would need to go back into some sort of even modified lockdown situation. The cabinet will be very busy, and the end of this campaign, I think, signals the true start of the provincial campaign, and they will be busy out there trying to appeal to voters in any way that they can.
Well, we know it's an exciting time for you come next year and in the weeks ahead, it seems like. Thanks, Randy. Let's see how the vote turned out in some of the ridings, which have changed their colors over the past few elections. In Quebec, Laurier Ste. Marie in 2008 was Bloc. In 2011, NDP, and in 2019, Liberal. Also, Louis Hubert, which had a similar history to Ontario. Etobicoke Lakeshore went to Harper in 2011, but has been Liberal since 2015. You can see in Louis Hubert, it's the incumbent Liberal in the lead. Etobicoke Lakeshore here again, Liberal incumbent lead. Let's move on now to Toronto Centre. This is one we're watching carefully. This is Annamie Paul's, the Green Party's leader, her riding. Right now, Marcy Ian is in the lead, the Liberal incumbent who won a by-election for this riding in 2019. Don Valley East, Michael Coteau. You will remember him from provincial politics as well. He is the leader and winner of Don Valley East right now, we have declared. And in Winnipeg Centre, at this time, the incumbent for the NDP has a lead over the Liberal. It is close, only 60 of 182 reporting. But again, we're starting to move west, and we're seeing some of those polling stations coming in with the results. We're going to head to another break with a live look at the Conservative Party headquarters in Oshawa. Your home, your vote returns next.
Got space issues? Time to declutter with Vinted. We all have too many clothes. Don't keep the things you won't wear anymore. This is too small. With the Vinted app, decluttering is fun and easy. Just snap, upload, and sell without fees. Get some space in your closet and extra cash at the same time. Download the Vinted app for free. Don't wear it? Sell it.
You may call us a tad unconventional. A bunch of wonderfully wild and colorful individuals. People who really do give a hoot about animals. Perhaps we are a little extreme, a little out there, or way out there. And yes, we do fuss over every small detail, but that's what makes us, us. Welcome to Uncommon.
I'm coloring the goldfish.
Kenny drew a picture. Goldfish shared it with the world.
That's so nice.
Goldfish. Feed imagination.
Ronald McDonald House isn't just a place to stay near the hospital.
Need some water?
My grandma. It's a place for families to stay together.
No sour cream. There's no way we can have taco night without sour cream.
You also said there's no way your brother would be staying with us for more than 2 weeks.
He's got a good point. Hit that taco with more salsa.
Right.
Taco night doesn't have to be perfect to be perfect.
How does HelloFresh make mealtimes easy? Well, a wide range of delicious recipes for meals everyone will enjoy. And when you're lacking inspiration, HelloFresh delivers to your door on a day that suits you. Just about everything you need to make home cooking effortless. Whatever your plans, midweek meals in minutes, or show-stopping family feasts, you're covered. Order your box now at hellofresh.ca.
Welcome back to Your Home, Your Vote. We're going to check now on the popular vote as the tallies are coming in across the country. Right now, the Liberals have 35.1% of the popular vote, Conservatives with 33.3%, the NDP lower, 16.3%, the Bloc Québécois with 7.2%. And as you can see tonight, the PPC surpassing the Green with 4.9%, the Greens with 2.3%. All right, keeping our show going tonight, we have Chris Gooley, a parliamentary correspondent with us in Ottawa. Chris, are you surprised with the results so far with the declaration of a Liberal government?
No, not surprised. The Liberals are in the same margin of where they were in 2019 so far. So in 2019, they got 157. So we're in the same ballpark. So we're looking at a minority government.
Chris, as a parliamentary correspondent, you're very familiar with each of the leaders. How would you characterize O'Toole during this campaign? Some say he actually played it safe.
Yeah, well, he played it down the middle. So he tried to grab the moderate vote. And one can argue that he succeeded. I mean, 121 seats isn't too bad. But just trying to soften the social conservative side of the party by coming out as pro-choice, by presenting an option for a climate plan, opposing conversion therapy, those sorts of things, I think, try to push him toward the middle, and I think resonated with voters who are dissatisfied with Trudeau and the Liberals.
So while we know this is a Liberal government, we're still waiting to see if it will be a minority or a majority government. Talking about leadership right now, do you believe Trudeau's leadership is in jeopardy? If it is a minority, again, we have mentioned that it was over $600 million for this election this year.
No, I think that backbenchers, caucus will wonder, much like most Canadians, why call an election if you're not going to secure a majority? And we've talked about this before during the campaign, that in June, when the Liberals were polling 10, 12 points ahead of the Conservatives, around Canada Day would have been the time to call the election, not mid-August. So there'll be disgruntlement within caucus. That said, I don't think Justin Trudeau's going anywhere. The Liberal Party's his brand. He's the brand. But I doubt he will seek another term after this. I think this is the last time you'll see him campaign.
In the past, like Stephen Harper, for example, we have seen leaders step down as soon as the final call was made. Anna May Paul has mentioned that she considered walking away from the Green leadership. What is next for Paul, in your mind?
Well, I see that the Greens are leading in 3 ridings, so we'll see how that plays out tonight. But if Elizabeth May is the only one standing and Anna May Paul is not likely to win Toronto Centre, I would guess that she would probably step back. The question is, who will fill in for her? Could Elizabeth May return?
Big questions still to be answered. Thank you so much, Chris Gooley, a parliamentary correspondent in Ottawa. We're going to take a quick break. We'll leave you with a live shot right now of the Liberal headquarters in Montreal. We'll be right back with Your Home, Your Vote.
Buying a car? When you go to omvic.ca, it's like getting a free ride. Because all the best car buying information is there, and it's free. Find out about your rights as a car buyer and get some great tips. Knowing your rights starts with the right information. It costs nothing to be informed, so go to omvic.ca. Omvic.ca. It's your free ride to your new ride.
What are you doing Saturday morning at 8:30? Tune in here on this station for my TV show. It's brand new. It's called Make Money Count, and it's all about how to save money on your mortgage. Your bank is going to hate you for watching it.
Germs invade through your nose, the body's air filter. But how do you clean it? Navage uses powered suction to help flush out congestion, allergens, mucus, and viruses. Millions use drug-free Navage to breathe better and feel healthier. Navage. Clean nose, healthy life.
Are you concerned about being tracked online? Take control of your online data. Use NordVPN, an easy-to-use cybersecurity app. Get the best deal at nordvpn.com.
It's a mixed-up world, and the way we work looks a little different. But whether you embrace the new normal or just want to get back to the routines that feel right, X-Chair continues to be at the forefront of change, which is why we've launched the all-new X-Chair with ELEMAX. ELEMAX combines gentle body temperature regulation with stress-melting massage to increase your comfort working from home or at the office. Feel more refreshed in seconds with dual fans that actively deliver a cooling airflow. Or you can wrap your back in the soothing warmth of heat therapy and access 4 combinations of massage for deep relief from tension. Our patented dynamic variable lumbar support and SciFloat Infinite Recline technology remain unchanged. Order an X-Chair with ELEMAX today. Use code TV and get $50 off plus a free footrest. Hey, change happened, and we've made it a good thing with all new ELEMAX from X-Chair. Now the future feels better than ever before. Order X-Chair with ELEMAX today. Use code TV and get $50 off plus a free footrest.
Shop online with confidence, knowing every Canada Drives car has passed a 150-point inspection and is covered by our 7-day money-back return policy. It's smart, safe, and easy. It's Canada Drives.
Good evening and welcome back to Your Home, Your Vote election coverage 2021. The CHCH decision desk says it will be a Liberal government, and now we're just waiting to see if it will be a Liberal minority or a majority. So we're going to head back to Adam Atkinson at Liberal Party headquarters in Montreal. Adam.
Hi, Nicole. It's definitely not the celebratory scene I've experienced in other elections, but when the dust settles, it will be Justin Trudeau and the Liberals celebrating tonight. Joining me now is Liberal strategist Greg McEachern. How did Trudeau get it done this election?
I think probably the same way they've done it in the last couple of elections. They have a riding by riding strategy where they look at their strengths, where they obviously there's going to be some polling, some what issues are doing well, a bit of micro-targeting sometimes around what issues resonate well. But I think a big part of it was that first French debate. 2 things happened there. We know that the province of Quebec was up in arms about a later French debate, but that first one, Justin Trudeau heard Erin O'Toole say something about assault weapons, caught it, pivoted, talked about Page Nani. 5 days following, the Conservatives were knocked off message. Every day, Mr. O'Toole had to answer questions about that. I think the Liberal comeback started in that point. So it really does, I don't want to sound like a cheerleader for the Prime Minister, but I think that debate performance really probably helped the Liberal campaign tremendously.
We heard so many complaints early on, like why call the election now? Why call it so early? Why call it during a pandemic? How did he change people's minds and stop them from complaining or getting out to the polls with those complaints still in mind?
I think part of the problem was Mr. Singh and Mr. O'Toole stayed with that message about the unnecessary election. No one likes an election, and I do think there were people, including myself, caught off guard about what a big deal that was. But I talked to a pollster at the end of last week, and he said that Canadians kind of moved on on after the third week. And what it reminded me of those people on December 24th complaining about having to buy Christmas presents. It's inevitable. It's coming. So I think at a certain point, Canadians kind of tuned out the message about the unnecessary election and started asking, okay, what is it that you stand for? What's in your platform? What are you going to do for me?
All right, Greg, thank you very much for your time. Now, we are expecting Trudeau to come speak down here. He is in the building watching the numbers come in. We're expecting him around 12:30, and we will definitely be here for more reaction. Nicole?
Thank you, Adam. And to Kelly Botello now at Conservative Party headquarters in Oshawa. Definitely a different scene there, Kelly.
Nicole, take a look at the empty seats behind me here, and there aren't many people in the stands either. We did get some cheers, though, when Conservative leader Erin O'Toole won his riding of Durham. Other than that, not much going on here right now. We do know that O'Toole is in the building watching the results come in, no doubt disappointed. He will be coming onto the stage at some point tonight to give us a speech. We don't know yet when that will be, but we will have it for you when he gets here. Back to you.
And then we're going to go to the West Coast now to join up with Phil Perkins, who's at the headquarters for the NDP in Jagmeet Singh. Phil.
Hey there, Nicole. Well, I'll tell you what, you want us to scene set. There's not much of a scene in any of the party headquarters right now because of COVID restrictions. It really is just media members, production crew, and the leaders of the federal party. But I will say, the most amount of noise that we heard here was just a couple of minutes ago when our decision desk and everyone's decision desk from every network called for a Liberal government, and people were definitely bustling and talking about that among the media members. I'm now joined by Dhananjay Kohli, who is the federal party president for the NDP. Let's do some chatter here. Let's talk. What's your reaction now to the Liberals regaining control of the government?
Well, I think Canadians saw through the cynical power grab that this election really was. You know, despite everything that Mr. Trudeau said that this election was about, I think Canadians have said clearly that there's more important things right now. The pandemic needs to be dealt with. This fourth wave needs to be dealt with, and you know, you're seeing that in the results. Not much has changed, right? So what did we go through this whole exercise for? But a vanity project by Mr. Trudeau.
But in a way, in the NDP, it looks like you're on pace to gain some seats. So some silver lining there, I guess, as well. But also, like you said, it kind of goes back to where we were, you know, just a couple weeks ago, working back with the Liberal government. What part of Jagmeet Singh's platform could help? You know, could he integrate that with this Liberal government, whether it's a majority or minority?
Well, I think, you know, during the entire response to this pandemic, you've seen the NDP's fingerprints all over it, right? Whether it was the increase to CERB, whether it was the increase to the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy, the creation of the Student Assistance Program. These are all things that we pushed this federal government to do. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're doing, I think, better in this cycle than we did previously, because people have seen that we're the only party that's actually standing up for working Canadians, right? And I think that's what we're going to continue to do with this government. We're going to continue to push to ensure that this government's standing up and providing the supports that people need to get through this pandemic, but also to fix the types of structural problems that exist in Canada right now.
And in terms of Jagmeet's leadership, there's no question that he's still the guy.
Oh, absolutely. I think, you know, whether he was in Edmonton, Vancouver, Mississauga, wherever he went, you know, there was just throngs and throngs of people. In some places, I know that we had to limit, you know, we could only give people a couple hours notice because so many people wanted to show up. You know, throughout this campaign, we've seen Jagmeet as absolutely the most popular leader, and that's partly because of who he is as a person, but also because, you know, he stands up for Canadians. And I think people during the pandemic and during this campaign have seen that, and they're going to continue to support him in this election and then in whatever future elections happen.
All right, Dhananjay Kohli, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Probably speak to you later. Thank you again.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
All right, Nicole, send it back to you in Hamilton.
That's Phil Perkins in Vancouver. Thank you, Phil. And we're going to take a look at our election maps now, showing the results in our area so far, starting in Hamilton. And as we can see, Hamilton East, Stony Creek towards the Liberals with Chad Collins, Hamilton Mountain with Lisa Hefner, Hamilton West, Ancaster Dundas with the incumbent Philomena Tassi, and Hamilton Centre leaning NDP with Matthew Green. To Halton now we go. Again, we have all Liberal incumbents trying to hold on to their ridings. Oakville, Burlington, Oakville, North Burlington, and Milton all looking red tonight. Oakville with Anita Anand, Burlington with Karina Gould, Oakville, North Burlington with Pam Damoff, and Milton, we have Adam Van Couverden. But we're moving along now to Niagara, looking at that region to see if there are any changes tonight. Niagara Falls looking for Tony Baldinelli, Conservative. Niagara Centre with Vance Badaway. St. Catharines, Chris Biddle, both of them Liberal incumbents looking to hold on to their seat. In Niagara West, I have seen that Dean Allison has been elected tonight, re-elected, I should say. He's held that riding. It's been a Conservative stronghold for many years. And with that, staying in Niagara, we go to Niagara Falls with Jason Guidola, who's really been covering this riding for us tonight, Jason.
It's a neck-and-neck race between a Liberal and a Conservative here in the riding of Niagara Falls. Right behind me, I'm at, you see supporters for Tony Baldinelli, a Conservative Tony Baldinelli, who is the incumbent, and him and Andrea Kaiser have been here before. In 2019, it was a really close race, pretty much a 3-point margin. And the Baldinelli camp is expecting something similar this time around, maybe even closer. Both of them boost portfolios that deal with the tourism industry. So they're looking at that as a huge issue if they were to get Member of Parliament here in Niagara Falls. And of course, there's other close races all across in Niagara and St. Catharines and Niagara Centre. Very close races between the Tories and the Liberals all across the region.
Thank you so much. We're going to get to those ridings right now and look a little bit closer to see where the voting's at this time. So Niagara Centre, let's bring up that riding. Vance Badaway is the incumbent. Right now, he's ahead of Conservative Graham Speck with 70 of 222 reporting. We're keeping an eye on this one. Too early to call. Moving along now to Niagara Falls, where Jason just was. Tony Baldinelli ahead of Andrea Kaiser right now. Still pretty close, 110 of 245 reporting. In St. Catharines, Niagara West, I should say, again, as I had just mentioned, Dean Allison has been re-elected for the Conservatives in Niagara West, but still 35 of 192 reporting there. In St. Catharines, it's still too close to call with only 90 reporting. Chris Biddle is ahead of Christina Whaler at this time for the Liberals. He's seeking re-election tonight. Matt Ingram joins us live from Hamilton Mountain with more on some of the Hamilton ridings we're following closely. Matt.
That's right, Nicole. I'm following all 5 of the ridings here in Hamilton. So let's go through them real quick to give you an idea of where things stand. Hamilton Centre is predicted to stay NDP with Matthew Green holding on to his seat, as is Hamilton West, Ancaster Dundas. For Philomena Tassi, the Liberal, she's also expected to hold on to her seat. But the other 3 ridings is where it gets interesting. All 3, no incumbent is running for re-election. So that means we're going to have 3 new faces in all of those ridings. Now, let's begin with where I am, Hamilton Mountain. This one is a very close race between the Liberals and the NDP. It's been an NDP riding since 2006, but in the last 2 elections, the Liberals have come within a few thousand votes of winning here. So they got a new candidate, CHCH News reporter Lisa Hefner, to try and turn this very orange riding red. Another riding we're watching is Flamborough-Glanbrook. That's the old riding of MP David Sweet, the Conservative. He's not running for re-election, but his chief of staff, Dan Muse, is trying to take the job. He's running against Vito Scrow for the Liberals in what is considered a very tight race. Over the weekend, Aaron O'Toole as well as Justin Trudeau made visits here to try and get out the vote, and it could be very close. We're still waiting to see, of course, as the election results are slowly trickling in. One thing to consider in that riding is the PPC. Now, we've heard that the PPC votes could be taking away from Conservative votes. So if the race between the Conservatives and the Liberals is very tight and the PPC are able to get out the vote, who knows, that could take away from a potential Conservative victory. Final thing I want to tell you about is Hamilton East Stony Creek. And there was Bob Britannia's riding. He's the former Hamilton mayor and the Liberal MP who is not running for re-election because he disagrees with his party's stance on the Hamilton LRT. They support it and he does not. So Chad Collins, the longtime Hamilton City Councillor, is stepping in to try and keep that riding red. But NDP Labour lawyer Nick Milanovic is trying to turn it orange. The NDP have held that riding previously, and it's one of those that they are hoping to turn to their side this election. Nicole.
Thank you, Matt. The Conservatives were hoping to do that in Halton this evening. Sylvie Lenvey is in Burlington for us with more on this. And it appears at this time, Sylvie, that the Liberals are hanging on to their seats there.
It looks like it, Nicole. It looks like all 4 of these halted ridings are going to be holding on to their seats. It looks like Anita Anand has about 6,600 votes, and we're actually at her headquarters right now in beautiful Oakville at a boat club. You can see behind me, energy is high, of course. People having some beers, sharing some fries and laughs, and every time she comes on the screen, there's a lot of woos. So it's obviously exciting for them here. Now, she was a high-profile cabinet minister, procurement minister, who helped secure vaccines, PPE, as well as COVID rapid tests for us here in Canada. So when we talked to voters earlier in Oakville, they say, that's why they voted for her. They really liked how she dealt with the pandemic. Now, let's take a look also at the other ridings in Halton. It looks like Karina Gould, Liberal candidate Karina Gould, will be able to keep her seat as well. She's held that seat since 2015. Oakville North Burlington with Pam Damoff, who's also held that seat since 2015, and then Adam Van Koeverden in Milton. Now, we're just waiting for Anita Anand to get here. We hear she will be making a speech, of course, to all her supporters here who are very excited to see her tonight. But interesting turn of events. It was, we thought, a neck-and-neck race, but it looks like all 4 of these Halton ridings will be read tonight. Back to you.
Yes, the CHCH decision desk has said that Anita Anand is re-elected for Oakville. We're going to take another quick break with a look at the Liberal Party headquarters. It looks quite different this year compared to 2019 because we are in a 4th wave of the pandemic. But we'll be right back with Your Home, Your Vote next.
Niagara's must-see landmark attraction, the Niagara Parks Power Station, is now open. Explore the Cathedral of Power, named one of the Globe and Mail's best new things to see and do in Canada this year. And at night, Currents, Niagara's Power Transformed, a spectacular sight and sound night experience inside the power station. Visit niagaraparks.com/power to learn more and buy tickets.
You're not looking in the right app, Mom. Pick something already. Show me something epic.
Escape the maze. Instantly search all your favorite content all at once. Now including Disney Plus. Ignite entertainment. Only on Rogers.
The Wowza Savings Event is on at Food Basics. It's fresher, tastier, crispier, juicier, wowzer, and distancer. So you can shop safely and get the deals you want on the delicious food you want during the Wowza Savings Event. Save big on these brands and more and get new deals every Thursday. Only at Food Basics. Always more for less.
Monster Jam. Coming to First Ontario Centre October 2nd and 3rd. Brought to you by BKT Tires. You have to see it live, so don't miss it. Get your tickets today at monsterjam.com.
Shipton's Heating and Cooling, a name you can trust for quality installations and dependable service when you need it, 24/7.
Your family's comfort is our business. Shipton's.
On McHappy Day, doing good is delicious. Because all day, anything you buy from our menu helps sick children and their families. Join us on September 22nd.
Thursday's date night movie. Anna Kendrick and Rebel Wilson star in the hit musical comedy Pitch Perfect, presented by The Brick. With the wrong mattress, you never really get out of bed. At the Brick Mattress Store, you'll get the right mattress guaranteed.
Welcome back to Your Home, Your Vote. We're going to take a look now at some of the leaders' ridings to see how they're doing. There are 3 leaders in Quebec with ridings there. Liberal leader Justin Trudeau is the incumbent in the Montreal riding of Papineau. He's held the seat since 2008 and, of course, is re-elected again. Conservative leader Erin O'Toole hoped to reclaim his Durham seat. The riding has voted for the Conservative Party. Since 2004, O'Toole first won a by-election in 2012 and proceeded to be voted in by his constituents the following 2 federal elections. That was not Andrew Scheer. We meant to show Durham with Erin O'Toole. Jagmeet Singh's second election. Oh, there we see it right now. Re-elected. This is Jagmeet Singh's second election as the leader of the federal NDP. Out on the West Coast, Singh was first elected in 2019 to Burnaby South, winning a by-election. It's still too early to call at this time. Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet was first elected in 2019 to Belleville-Chamblay, and he has been re-elected there for this riding. And Maxime Bernier has enough concentrated support throughout the seat. He was hoping for at least to win his own seat in the former riding of Beauce, Quebec, and it has gone Conservative, though, tonight. He did not win his seat. And finally, Toronto Centre again. This is Green Party leader Annamie Paul's riding, not on the board at all at this time. Marcy Ian, the Liberal, is in the lead right now with 10 of 137 reporting. And quickly, before we go to the panel, we're going to check out the popular vote right now to see how voters were feeling about each party. The Conservatives with the most support, with 34%. The Liberals, 32.9%. The NDP, 16.7%. The Bloc Québécois, 8.1%. And still, the PPC ahead of the Greens with 5.2%. Taz, over to you with the panel.
All right, so the Conservatives leading in the popular vote, but as we mentioned earlier, our CHCH election desk has called this a Liberal government. Are you surprised that the Conservatives managed to creep past in the popular vote, past the Liberals, I should
Well, as
say?
recall, this is exactly what they did in 2019 as well. They won the popular vote for the first time, and for the first time since Confederation, a government that got under 35% of the vote, won. So it's not really that surprising. What we can see, though, here in that popular vote, Maxime Bernier and the PPC, 246,000 votes so far. You add them to Mr. O'Toole's votes, and the Conservatives are forming government, and maybe even perhaps a majority. But it certainly would have been a completely different outcome if we didn't have Maxime Bernier and the PPC running in this election.
Now, Liviana, is this the rise of the PPC just a flash in the pan, or are we going to be hearing about this party in the future and for years to come?
I think that right-wing populism is here to stay. We saw that trend in the United States take root. It was already taking root in Europe beforehand, and I think it's just a function of our times. So I'm not expecting the PPC to go away. They've made their point.
And as we saw the leaderboard, Jagmeet Singh, still polling quite low. But again, it is very early, and he is running in BC. Does he have any reason to be concerned at this point?
No, both in his riding and his leadership, if I'm looking at the numbers correctly, the NDP seat count has gone up slightly, so that's an endorsement of his leadership. Excuse me. In Burnaby South, although he's not leading by a lot, he's leading in the early going, and you always want to be doing that rather than playing catch-up. So I think all three of the leaders are pretty safe going forward. We've joked about it here tonight, but this is really an election that has wound up being about nothing. We're back to almost exactly where we were when we started, and I don't think there's going to be any change in the three major parties. The one person whose leadership I might be worried about would be Annamie Paul. She didn't win her own riding. They've actually lost a seat at this point. They had 3, they're down to 2. And so she, and given already the knives being out in that party, they may need a new leader. But otherwise, if you like the cast of characters last time, expect this to be the same in season 2.
She was never going to win anyway. Why on earth was she running in Toronto Centre, Rosedale? You could run a fire hydrant there with a Liberal badge, and that would win.
And it's the second time she's tried this, in a by-election previous and now a federal
And
election.
if you think back, Elizabeth May did the same thing and ran against Peter MacKay in Nova Scotia. Again, wasn't going to win. I don't understand why the Green leaders decide they're going to do this. She had 0 chance of winning in
So
Toronto
does
Centre.
this mean, Liviana, that we're going to see a leadership review for Annamie Paul? She managed to dodge one earlier this summer. Is it a matter of when and not if?
Right. Well, the Green Party constitution requires that there be a leadership review after an election loss. So if she's not defeated in a leadership review, that you may see her resigning after tonight's results.
Marvin, some may call this election a waste of time, a waste of money, but we have learned certain things about Canadians. The rise of the PPC, as we've been talking about, and this move to a more right-wing campaign style as well. What other things come to mind?
Well, I think first, this was a bit of a referendum on Justin Trudeau's leadership. And although there are lots of people who have no use for Justin Trudeau, that face that guided us through COVID is the one that seems to be resonating with people. And they're saying, okay, you got us to this point, take us the rest of the way home. We're not done with this yet. We were debating offline as to whether this would be Justin's last election. Given that the average minority government lives about 2 years, I don't think he's done yet. In fact, Stephen Harper led 2 minority governments before eventually being rewarded with a big majority. He may take another stab at this. I think the other thing is that people did hear some things they like. So I think they're intrigued by Jagmeet Singh's pharmacare program. And I think one of the conditions to get supporting the Liberals will be, can you find a way to make that happen? They're intrigued about the $10 a day daycare. So as we're coming out of COVID, we need some things to grab onto that we can count on as a way forward. And there's some interesting ideas here. Let's see how they develop over the next year or two.
Olivia, there were a couple of things working against O'Toole. One would be the PPC, and in the last couple of weeks of the election, there was the spiraling COVID crisis in Alberta. How much did that hurt O'Toole?
Well, I'm really interested to see how that played out in Alberta, because there was a lot of dissatisfaction with the management, Jason Kenney's management of the pandemic, and Mr. O'Toole has praised Mr. Kenney's management of the pandemic in Alberta. So I want to see what happened in 3 seats in Edmonton that were really competitive for the Liberals, as well as if the NDP held Edmonton Strathcona, as well as there's a seat in downtown Calgary that was also at play. So I think if you see any effect, Kenney effect, you will see it there.
Keith, you look like you may want to add something.
Just that the rise of the PPC, when they started the campaign, they were at 1%. When Justin Trudeau started talking about vaccine passports, the PPC vote just started going up and up and up, and they finished the campaign between 6 and 8%, while we're seeing tonight, I guess, around 5%. That was the issue itself. So I don't know if that's they're going to have to find another issue, because I think come the next election, whether it's in 2 years or 4, hopefully COVID and vaccines are not on the plate anymore.
I do want to ask you one quick thing, because we had talked about the changing face of Hamilton and how the demographics were changing, and that was also changing the way that the area votes. This is no longer an NDP fortress.
Absolutely not. No. Hamilton is wide open to the Liberals, as we've seen. They even gave some consideration to some Conservatives, but the NDP has no hold on Hamilton anymore. They held Hamilton Centre. They're lucky to do that.
All right. We're going to send things back to Nicole.
Thank you, Taz. And joining us again remotely is tech and social media expert Amber MacArthur. Amber, a lot to digest here now with a Liberal call of government. What's the online conversation right now? Are people watching and weighing in on this result?
They absolutely are. I went online and I asked how people were feeling. I should say that not all of the replies were fit to air, but I think and here are some samples. First up, we have this one from Alice, a sigh of relief, now hoping for majority so we can get some much needed work passed. We have another one here from Adam. I'm wondering why we even bothered with this vanity election and how it will come back to haunt the Liberal Party in the next election. That's also a common theme. Linda says, I'm so relieved. A Conservative federal government had me losing sleep. So a lot of people saying that they are feeling relieved. Of course, there's also a lot of anger at the same time. Some people saying this is a big waste of time. And like was just said on the panel, we're back to where we were before. And so it really is a mix of feelings. But I do hear that word relief a lot from people on social media right now.
Well, Amber, this is a family-friendly show, so thank you for paraphrasing some of the angry tweets tonight. I want to talk to you about ad spending during this election, though. How were the party's strategies online?
Yeah, this is really interesting as you dive into the ad spend. A few years ago, Facebook made this totally transparent. So what we saw over the past 30 days or so was that the Liberal Party of Canada spent about $2 million on ads. And in fact, they ran thousands of ads. The Conservative Party spent about $1.6 million and the NDP $1.5 million. When you dive into that data, I mentioned that the Liberal Party of Canada had, almost 3-4 times as many ads as the Conservative Party. So I think when we look at the Liberal Party of Canada, they have become quite sophisticated over the past few years in terms of their digital strategy. And this is just one example of that. And I think these things still matter. This is where a lot of these conversations are happening among friends and family all across the country.
What worked for the leaders and what didn't online?
Well, it's really interesting because we see a lot of attack ads on television, but what I think is really interesting on social media is that generally speaking, I don't think that they worked as well. So I think when you look at the Liberal Party of Canada, one of the things that they did well was to really stick to the facts in terms of what they were going to do, the plan to get there. When you look at the Conservative Party, what we saw, as I mentioned early on, in terms of some of their ads that were really attack ads on social media, they tended to not do as well. You know, there's a lot of people on social media who go there to basically collect information. And so they really had different strategies from the very beginning of this campaign. It's going to be interesting in terms of the months and years to come to continue to see how important this is during times like this, because we know when it comes to campaigning, again, social media continues to play a more prominent role.
And that's what I was going to ask you next. Going from here, depending on if it's a minority or a majority, we're talking an election potentially in 2 years or 4 years, it's still unknown at this time. But what do these parties need to focus on, and what might be new in terms of platforms coming our way in these years ahead?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm a little bit fearful about the future when it comes to social media. I think we saw some glimpses of how it can, in fact, divide people. I do hope that the federal government does move forward in terms of having more regulations when it comes to the type of hate speech that you can spread online. I think that's really important for the country. I know it's not easy to do, but I do predict that we're going to follow what happened in the U.S. in terms of things like troll armies and more fake accounts and disinformation and misinformation. And over the years, if we don't start to take this seriously, and you know, kudos to CHCH for even having me on talking about this, it's going to be a growing issue that is really going to splinter us as a country and divide us even more.
Well, I think it's fantastic that we have you on and we really break this down, because this is something that I think not only the leadership and the parties, but Elections Canada will have to look at going forward.
Absolutely. So it's going to continue to be a growing issue, and we're going to be talking about even more platforms and even some of those private networks, like I mentioned, like Telegram and Signal as well.
Yeah. Amber, thank you so much. We're going to head to this short break right now. Another live look inside the Liberal headquarters tonight in Montreal. We'll be right back with Your Home, Your Vote next.
Now at Critelli's Furniture and Critelli Modern. Get up to $1,500 stressless credit to put toward additional seating and accessories. It's time for Stressless. Shop Critelli's Furniture and Critelli Modern in downtown St. Catharines.
To those with drive and those who live to drive. To go-getters and jet-setters. To thrill chasers and trailblazers. To all who drive for the sheer joy of driving. Consider this your invitation. Step up to BMW with exceptional offers, including a 1% rate reduction during the BMW Invitational Sales Event.
Say a tree falls on your house, or a pipe bursts in your shop. If you don't have the right coverage, you could feel it for a while. For insurance coverage without worry, talk to an insurance broker.
When you need help with your heating, air conditioning, or plumbing, Google Boonstra. Boonstra is available 24/7 for all of your heating, air conditioning, and plumbing needs. Call the guys in the green trucks. No extra charge, evenings and weekends.
It's the right time to call Boonstra. You're not looking in the right app, Mom.
Pick something already.
Show me something epic.
Escape the maze. Instantly search all your favorite content all at once. Now including Disney Plus. Ignite Entertainment. Only on Rogers.
On McHappy Day, doing good is delicious. Because all day, anything you buy from our menu helps sick children and their families. Join us on September 22nd.
Now at Critelli's Furniture and Critelli Modern. Save $500 on stressless signature-based recliners and ottomans or recliners with classic power. It's time for Stressless. Shop Critelli's Furniture and Critelli Modern in downtown St. Catharines.
Welcome back to Your Home, Your Vote election coverage, and the CHCH desk is making another call. The CHCH decision desk is declaring a liberal minority government. And with more on this, let's get to our Queen's Park producer, Randy Rath, who joins us again. Randy, does a liberal minority, now that we know that, federally work in Premier Doug Ford's favor when it comes to the election provincially next year?
Oh, I think so, absolutely. The Conservatives weren't really trounced in this election. And it plays into Mr. Ford's game plan of running his election campaign against Mr. Trudeau as opposed to the provincial Liberal leader. We're in a period of inflation right now, and it's questionable how fast the economic recovery will happen. And if Mr. O'Toole was the Prime Minister, Mr. Ford would have to eat some of that. But with Mr. Trudeau as Prime Minister, Mr. Ford will be able to blame him for it. So it works perfectly into his plan to fight this campaign, not against the Liberal leader, Ontario's Liberal leader, who he would prefer remain invisible, but against the Prime Minister.
I was going to say, what does this result tonight even mean for the Ontario Liberal leader, Stephen Del Duca?
I don't think it's good news for him because Mr. Trudeau is going to be blamed for anything that happens in the next year, and Mr. Del Duca would have been far better off to have a Conservative Prime Minister so that he could do the same thing that Mr. Ford is planning on doing, which is blaming the Prime Minister for everything that goes wrong and blaming the Conservatives for everything that goes wrong, including Mr. Ford.
What's next for Premier Doug Ford? How soon does he get on the phone and talk with Justin Trudeau?
That's a really good question. I would imagine that he would do it within the next 24 hours because Mr. Ford learned one thing from COVID, and that is that there is nothing wrong with being friendly and working with the federal government. Mr. Ford was forced to come to that realization, and I think that he has accepted it.
He certainly praised Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland a number of times during this pandemic. Randy, thank you so much for your insights tonight.
Thank you.
And we're going to take a look at our elections map right now, showing the results in our area so far, starting in Hamilton. A sea of red here tonight. Hamilton East, Stony Creek remaining red. Hamilton Mountain, Lisa Hefner has won that riding. It is Liberal. Hamilton West, Ancaster Dundas with Philomena Tassi. But Matthew Green for the NDP holds on to his seat in Hamilton Centre. To Halton region at this time now. All of the Liberal incumbents have held on to their seats tonight, with Oakville, Anita Anand, Burlington, Karina Gould, Oakville, North Burlington, Pam Damoff, and Milton, Adam Van Couverden. In the Niagara region, we'll see if there were any changes here. Niagara Falls remains the same. Conservative Tony Baldinelli, Niagara Centre Vance Badaway, St. Catharines Chris Biddle, and Niagara West Dean Allison. No changes here in the Niagara region. And we're going to also look at Southwest Ontario, which has been predominantly blue as we move through. This is not unusual at this time. And Kitchener. There are some ridings in here that were Liberal that could very well go Conservative. And look at here, Kitchener Centre. This was Raj Saini's riding, who dropped out. The Green has taken this riding. This is a major gain for the Green Party in this area. And to London as well. We're going to look here. And London, the outskirts again remain Conservative. London West Liberal, London North Liberal as well, and London Fanshawe remains NDP. And to the Mississauga area, we are looking at a sea of red tonight. All of the ridings in Mississauga have gone Liberal. And the Toronto area, this is also another predominantly Liberal area right here. All of the ridings have gone Liberal. Once again, Anna May Paul's riding. The Green Party leader, she did not hold on to that. Marcy Ian, the Liberal, has taken that riding. We want to look at what the entire province looks like right now. You can see orange, the NDP to the north, more Liberal. We've got Conservatives all around the southern area of Ontario, which is, again, not unusual to see. This is what it is normally like. And the Liberals really holding on to the GTA and the 905 this evening. With that, let's check in with our panel again. Taz.
Well, really no surprise that Toronto remains a Liberal stronghold. Nicole, let's check in with Marvin Ryder on the end. And what are your thoughts when you see the red and surrounded by the different colors denoting the parties? What does it make you think?
You know, Taz, earlier tonight we talked about polarization and how the country seems to be dividing, and it very much seems to be an urban-rural kind of a split. The cities are not only perhaps better educated and maybe a little more affluent, but this is also where all the new Canadians are coming from. We admit roughly 300,000 immigrants every year, many of them from places like the Philippines and India and China. They're not choosing to live in, let's say, Beamsville or Simcoe. They're coming to the bigger cities, and those are the areas that are seeming to be supporting the Liberals, and to some extent the NDP. They're not, the Conservatives aren't resonating with them. So if I was sending a message to Mr. O'Toole, is great that you've moved into the center, but now you've got to reach out to those communities, and until you speak to them, you're going to be relegated, you're going to be left off the map, because winning big in rural areas doesn't actually do anything for you. This is why the Conservatives have got a majority, 34% of the popular vote, and yet it's not turning into a majority of the seats. Whether you win a seat by 500 or 5,000 or 50,000, it doesn't help you in that way. So what they need to do is get into those areas where their messages haven't resonated, and that's the story for Mr. O'Toole tonight. He hasn't found a way to break in.
Doesn't seem that way. And as we mentioned, Liviana, Anna May Paul getting absolutely trounced in that riding again. What is next for her, do you think?
I think she has to make a decision about her future with the Green Party. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on her to resign, and if she doesn't resign, I think that her future in the party as a leader is not very bright.
The Greens have elected two candidates. I'm assuming one of them is Elizabeth May, if I'm not mistaken. Does someone give up their seat for the leader, or what happens here procedurally?
Well, one person can give up their seat for the leader, but again, who is going to be that person who's going to give up their seat? Is it Elizabeth May? I'm not seeing that happen.
Keith, let's ask you to jump in.
Well, I don't know. I mean, who's going to give up a seat for, and then they would have to win that seat.
Right,
and that's the difficult thing. The Greens aren't proving that they can win anywhere. So that win in Kitchener tonight is significant for them, absolutely. But I don't think it's enough to save Anna May Paul's leadership. And quite frankly, I'm not so sure she would want to keep the leadership the way she was treated by the party. She had to run her entire campaign out of Toronto, got to leave it like 4 times mostly to go to the debates. It was insanity the way she was treated. So if there is going to be a leadership review, I think she may just walk away before it even happens, because why would she put herself through that?
Taz, if I can put a footnote on that. A little earlier we talked about Doug Ford and what have you. Stephen Del Duca, who leads the Liberal Party, doesn't have a seat. And no one's given up a seat. He's actually leading the party from outside the legislature. We've also commented that he's not doing a really good job from that standpoint. This is the same problem Anna May Paul has. She doesn't have a seat. She has to lead from outside. And with only 2 seats, do you give up the former leader who's loved and seems to be able to win all the time, but would she fill that void? Or do you do the surprise thing in Kitchener? I think it's not likely anyone's going to give up their seat for her.
Marvin, really quickly, what do you expect the markets to do tomorrow? How are they going to react?
Yawn. I would really expect a gigantic yawn. They're not upset by any of this. This is not going to send tremors down their spine that Justin Trudeau's been returned. They've actually, the market's grown in the last year as we've recovered from COVID, so we've seen the markets go up. And again, in this election, there aren't that many real key fiscal policies. Sure, we've got $10 daycare. Yes, we've got the pharmacare program. Yes, they're going to try to do something around affordable housing, but there's nothing there from any of the parties that's going to cause the markets to panic. So I think just a big yawn tomorrow.
All right, thank you, Marvin. Nicole, back to you.
Taz, and we're going to take another quick break, and we'll bring you more from the party headquarters across the country, as well as local ridings next. You're looking at the Liberal headquarters. We're waiting to hear when Justin Trudeau will speak. Stay with us. Your home, your vote continues.
It's 1981, and John Bear opens a GM dealership in Hamilton, Ontario. It's been an awesome 40 years, and we've made some great friends along the way.
Hi, John Mitchell here from Union Power Insurance. Our family business has been dealing with this family business for 40 years. Happy birthday to you all, your service, your family. Everybody looks after me. I am so proud to be a member of the John Bear family.
From selling GM vehicles and servicing our customers and supporting the community we live in, some things will never change.
As your family grows, your space can start to feel a little crowded. When it's time to sell your home, we know what matters most: a quick sale and maximum profit. We're so confident we can sell your home at a price and deadline we agree on that if we don't, we'll buy it. When your life changes, my team and I will be there to get your home sold, guaranteed.
When life changes, you can count on Michael St. Jean. Factory Shoe. Why pay full price for shoes?
Factory Shoe. All the best brands, always the best selection.
Why pay full price?
Shop online at factoryshoe.ca.
You're not looking in the right app, Mom.
Pick something already.
Show me something epic.
Escape the maze. Instantly search all your favorite content all at once. Now including Disney Plus. Ignite Entertainment. Only on Rogers.
During Leon's 50/50 sale, get 50% off specials, plus take 50 months to pay.
Switch your car and home insurance to Bel Air Direct, and you could save up to $750. So, you can live a little larger and get the electric lawn vehicle of your dreams. Feels good, doesn't it?
Tom's happy because at PlayOjo.net he can play more than 3,000 games, including Dynamite Riches. And Sally loves playing for hourly and daily must-drop jackpots on games like Gonzo's Quest. Join the fun at PlayOjo.net.
Play Ojo.
Welcome back to Your Home, Your Vote coverage. The CHCH Decision Desk has declared a Liberal minority. And with that, let's go to Adam Atkinson, who is live in Montreal at the Liberal headquarters. Adam.
Hi, Nicole. As you can see behind me, it is still very quiet here. Definitely not like a victory party of any kind that we've ever seen before. We're still waiting for Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to come down here. We were told it was going to be around 12:30. Hopefully he will come down sooner. But obviously the people we spoke to tonight said the big factor in this election was COVID and the fact that the Liberals, people believe the Liberals are the party to push this country past the pandemic. So we'll see if that happens as well. Again, another popular part of their campaign was childcare for young families and offering $10 a day daycare within the next 5 years. So obviously that's a big thing for young families, and obviously you've heard from experts as well that more housing is needed. And the Liberals have campaigned saying they're going to build 1.4 million new homes over the next 4 years. So all of that came down to a Liberal minority government, but again the big push behind everything has been the pandemic and the Liberals' response to that pandemic. But again, we haven't heard from the Prime Minister. We're hoping to soon. Nicole?
Adam, any final thoughts from being at the Liberal headquarters in Montreal tonight?
It's so weird, Nicole. Honestly, I was at Bob Bertina's headquarters last time there was an election, and it was wild, euphoric, partying, singing, music, dancing. It was great. Listen. Crickets almost. Well, other people talk, but you know what I mean. Very quiet, very weird. I don't know how to think about it. It's just, it's odd.
The other reporters are the crickets, but we're in a pandemic, right? It's what we could expect going into this. Adam, thank you for your coverage tonight.
Thanks, Nicole. Have a good one.
Thank you. Let's send things over to Kelly Botello, who's live in Oshawa, and she has been covering extensively the Conservative Party throughout the night. Kelly, how are you doing there?
Nicole, goes without saying the Conservative supporters are disappointed, but where did the party go wrong? And for that, I'm bringing in Conservative strategist Alex Crescent. Alex, what happened?
Well, you know what? I think that Erin O'Toole ran a very solid, positive campaign. I think we forget that Erin O'Toole has only been leader of this party for 1 year, and throughout all of that, it was a COVID-19 pandemic where he wasn't able to tour and get to know people. The one thing here is that the one positive out of this, amongst many, is that it's given him the opportunity to introduce himself to voters in a big way that he wouldn't have had if if this election didn't happen.
Were there some platform promises that you think fell flat with voters?
I think the platform promises that he was making at the beginning of this campaign were very good, solid policies that spoke to pocketbook issues of affordability and reached out to working people and blue-collar voters in a way that the Conservative Party hasn't done as much in the past. I think there's a lot of room to grow there, but you know, we had the shortest possible election, and again, a leader who is fairly new.
So what's next for Erin O'Toole?
The Conservatives put a lot of pressure on first-time leaders. I like to think that we've got an opportunity here to go forward and build on the positive gains that have come from this. I think the biggest takeaway tonight is that Canadians didn't want to have an election. We've got, looking back at the exact same parliament we had before, just how unnecessary this was, just a $600 million game of musical chairs.
Okay, Alex, thank you very much. Appreciate that. We are expecting to hear from Erin O'Toole. We don't know when that will be. It's expected to be shortly, but we don't know exactly when. Back to you, Nicole.
Thank you, Kelly. Heading back over to the West Coast, where Phil Perkins has been for us tonight at the NDP headquarters in Vancouver. Phil, how are you there?
Oh, I'm doing great, Nicole. Thanks for joining us. I'm here with Jasbir Sandhu, a longtime MP in Surrey here in British Columbia. What's your reaction to the Liberals winning the minority government? They're calling it that now. And how can the NDPs, I guess, continue that working relationship that was in place a month ago?
Well, Jagmeet Singh and the NDP ran a very positive campaign across the country, and we wanted to talk about issues that were important to Canadians, like affordability, healthcare, childcare. You know, right at the onset when the election was called by Mr. Trudeau, we had said that this was not necessary. We did not need to call out an election. The things that Mr. Trudeau wanted to do, we could have been helping people, Canadians across it during this terrible time of pandemic. And instead, Mr. Trudeau chose to go through the election and spend $600 million, which we could have spent on our seniors' health care. But Mr. Trudeau chose, and you see the results right now, and they aren't any different from what it was before. So very, very disappointed when Mr. Trudeau called the election. More so disappointed now that we wasted this much money where we could have been working to curb pandemic, also helping Canadians through this difficult time.
You know, has this tarnished that working relationship a little bit when they head back to Parliament? Is that going to be a hot topic when you get back?
No, for NDP and Jagmeet Singh, it's always about people. Anything that will help Canadians, whether it was before the election or after the election, it is about people. It's about affordability. It's making sure there's food on the table. You're not deciding between getting your medicine or food. So we want to help Canadians with programs like pharmacare, programs like dental care, and of course the billionaires need to start paying their fair share, which they haven't been, and we need to ensure that billionaires pay their fair share so we can have some of these benefits that should be available to all Canadians.
Right. It was a $68 billion looking to help with universal pharmacare and helping with dental and mental health as well. That's something that you could try to push.
Well, those are investments that we can make in our communities. And what's on the other side is the billionaires have gotten more billions during this pandemic, and I'm sorry, they need to start paying their fair share, and NDP will always advocate for a fair share and make sure that Canadians are well taken care of during times of pandemic. Unfortunately, Mr. Trudeau called this election and the result isn't any difference, and we are willing to go back to Parliament to ensure that what we need to do for Canadians during this time gets done, not elections for hundreds of millions of dollars.
All right. Sandhu, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, that's our coverage here from the Vancouver Convention Centre. Jagmeet Singh is scheduled to speak later on this evening. At the beginning of the evening, he says he wants to dance, and it looks like the NDP are gaining seats more so than they did before the election, so he could put those dancing shoes on and hit the floor. There's no one here. He's got on to himself. Back to you, Nicole.
Well, Phil, we're waiting for you to dance, I think. But one thing I do want to ask of you, having covered the NDP now throughout this campaign, did anything surprise you? Did anything stand out to you as we see the results tonight?
The fact that they gained seats, that is something that they've all wanted to do here, and the fact that Jagmeet Singh, according to many people in the Indigenous community, they definitely did feel like out of the three main candidates himself, Liberal leader Justin Trudeau and Conservative leader Erin O'Toole, that out of the three of those, Jagmeet is the one that really did speak to them the most. And also heading into this reform government, heading back to Ottawa, the fact that the NDP had arguably the most expensive platform, over $210 billion expected to be spent if they were to be elected as the main party here as Prime Minister for Jagmeet Singh, and $68 billion of that going towards healthcare, and a big chunk of that was going to be towards eliminating private long-term care, as well as having universal, as I mentioned there with the former MP, universal pharmacare as well, and helping with dental and mental health. And so when they get back to work, get after this election situation, $600 million after that, they go to Ottawa, and if they seem to be quite encouraged they could just continue back to where they left off before this election was called and try to bring those things in here and, as they said, try to help Canadians. But I think the biggest thing for me, just from hearing from Indigenous communities, there was a fair amount of Indigenous people at the rallies that we were at leading up to this election day, and they seem to feel, and if you also look at the results in Northern Ontario, some of the people who did end up winning in those ridings were Indigenous background, and so hearing from that, they seem to be, especially after this year, that you have somebody in Jagmeet Singh who does represent them. So, looking forward to that. Back to you.
Singh certainly made Northern Ontario a highlight of his campaign. Thank you, Phil. And to Matt Ingram on the Hamilton Mountain now. The Hamilton ridings will see some new faces head to Ottawa, Matt.
That's right, Nicole. And we're here in Hamilton Mountain in front of the campaign headquarters of Liberal Lisa Hefner, because with 65% of the vote counted, she's up by about 500 votes. This has always been perceived as a close race between her and NDP candidate Malcolm Allen. One of them's going to win, and it is going to be a new face, because the incumbent Scott Duval of the NDP is not running for re-election. And this riding has been NDP since 2006. So if Hefner is able to hold on and win this for the Liberals, it'll be the first time since then that this riding has had a different party MP. Nicole.
Thank you so much, Matt. And to Sylvie Lenve, who's in Oakville, where Anita Anand has been re-elected for the Liberals. Sylvie.
Nicole, she's been able to hang on to her seat, and she's just celebrating behind us here with her supporters here at the Oakville Power Boat Club. She's once again the Procurement Minister of Canada. Now, we caught up with her just moments after her win. How are you feeling tonight after this win?
I'm ecstatic. We worked extremely hard as a team. Volunteers worked 5 weeks straight, every single day, knocking on doors, and we kept the message very positive at the doors. We did not speak negatively about our opponents. That's my strategy and my goal, always keep it positive. And I'm really ecstatic to be coming out on top tonight.
What did you hear at the doors from Oakville residents?
People concerned about the environment, about affordable housing, about building back better and in a resilient economy. Those are all things I want to work on for our community going forward.
What will be your main focus getting back into office?
Well, I am still the Minister of Procurement, so I've got to keep focused on that work, and I also have to make sure that we are fulfilling the needs of our community and our country.
Speaking of the community, what's your message to the voters who didn't vote for you, because now you represent them as well?
I, as a Member of Parliament, am representing all members of this town, all residents, and so our office, I've continued to say, is nonpartisan. We will represent you, and we will work hard on your issues right across the board.
So an exciting night for the Liberals here in Halton. As you can hear behind us, all 4 Halton candidates were able to hold on to their Liberal seats. Back to you.
Thank you, Sylvie. The same can be said right now for Niagara. Again, not all of the candidates have been re-elected at this time, but we're starting to see some of the same people being re-elected to Ottawa. Jason Gaidola is in Niagara Falls tonight with more on this. Jason.
That's right, Nicole. As predicted, we saw some we're seeing some very close races tonight all across the region, except one Tory has claimed victory in Niagara West. That's Dean Allison, but there's still 3 ridings to go. And here at the Baldinelli viewing party, optimism is still high. I mean, there's still a ways to go, but they feel very strongly moving forward at what they deemed as a very hard-fought campaign. We're seeing a tight race in St. Catharines and obviously in Niagara Center. St. Catharines again, Chris Biddle leading the way there. So as predicted, again, it's a neck-and-neck race between the Liberals and the Conservatives. But here at the Baldinelli camp, they feel it was a strong night as everything played out. Back to you, Nicole.
Thank you, Jason. That's Jason Guidola in Niagara Falls. And Amber MacArthur has been following the conversation for us on social media all night long. Amber, any more reaction to tonight's vote?
I just have 2 quick updates. Twitter Canada just sent this official note my way. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau looks to enjoy a 3rd term as our country's leader. With 5.7 million followers, he's the most followed politician in Canadian history and one of the top 10 most followed world leaders on Twitter. Also wanted to mention that Jagmeet Singh, less than an hour ago, had posted on Twitter as well as Instagram, and we have his Instagram post here saying, "Well, friends, polls are closed across the country. Thank you to everyone who voted. By believing in better, we fought hard, and no matter the results, I'm proud of what we've accomplished." So that's a great wrap up, I think, for the evening. And again, I'm sure this conversation is going to continue tomorrow on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and beyond.
Amber, for you personally, what are your final thoughts?
Am I allowed to say I'm glad that this election is over?
Yes, you can say that. You can say that.
I mean, I love my time with you, but I do want to just say that I found it very stressful in the middle of a pandemic, very concerned about the results. But if I look forward and I sort of take off my social and digital hat, I am looking forward to seeing childcare, $10 a day childcare across the country, or at least in those provinces and territories that have already signed on for that. I think that's going to be great for our post-pandemic recovery, and also keen to make sure that we continue to make strides when it comes to climate.
Amber, as always, thank you so much for your analysis tonight.
Thank you for having me.
And it's time now for some final thoughts from our panel. Taz.
Well, Nicole, this has been an interesting election, this pandemic election, a first for me, certainly. Keith, you've been around the block a couple of times, and then some. Have you ever experienced anything like this?
Well, really no, because the pandemic made it all so very, very different, didn't it? I mean, but we come down to, even though the results are pretty much mirroring what we saw at dissolution, elections matter. I don't like this when people say this election was about nothing. It was about all sorts of things. Yes, the pandemic and vaccinations, but it was also about a major number of issues that were raised. Elections do matter. Don't be frustrated by the fact that we've come back and we're going right back to Parliament with essentially the same count. I mean, things did change, and hopefully now we'll see if Doug Ford comes out of witness protection.
Liviana, what do you expect voter turnout to be this year?
I'm hoping that it'll be a little higher. The indications were in previous years when you see higher rates of turnout at advanced voting, you're going to get slightly higher turnout. So I'm just hoping that the turnout goes up.
And we certainly have seen the youth more engaged in this election than we have previously.
They have been more engaged, but they were most engaged in 2015 when we had a Trudeau-mania effect. The youth turnout went down in 2019, and I'm not sure what the impact of not having polling stations on post-secondary campuses is going to have on youth turnout. I'm not very optimistic on that count, but I hope I'm wrong, and I hope young people voted in large numbers, because the issues that we're talking about matter most to their generation.
That is an important note to make. Marvin, final question goes to you. Do you think it was worth the gamble, I guess is what I'm trying to ask you? We went through all this, 36 days, $620 million, walked away with the same minority government.
So Taz, I'm going to give you the answer for why Justin Trudeau called this election. In 2 days from now, we're going to start on vaccine passports or vaccine certification. And I don't have, and you don't have any idea how the country's going to react. I think Justin didn't want to have an election after vaccine passports came in case there was a lot of backlash to this in the days ahead. Get it out of the road now, and then let's fight that battle. Here's another quick thought for you. In 2 months, the G7 nations are going to meet. With the retirement of Angela Merkel as Chancellor of Germany, the most seasoned world leader among the G7 nations is Justin Trudeau.
Interesting point. And thank you to all of our panelists for joining us. We appreciate your insights.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nicole, sending back to you.
Thank you, Taz. Morning Live will continue election coverage bright and early at 6 a.m. with all of the speeches throughout the early morning hours. That's it for our Your Home, Your Vote election night special. A big thank you to the panel, our reporters in the field, and our incredible team behind the scenes who made this show possible. On behalf of everyone here, I'm Nicole Martin. Thank you for joining us, and good night.